Unified welcomes you to the following presentation of the Midwest Esports Conference. Here at the MEC, we partner with schools all over the Midwest to create premier gaming experiences.
The most common angles that the operator plays. This is like second to only B long. Fight is likely having a leg shot, but they're too slow. Hariri lands a perfect headshot.
Laying in the damage zone and them on out. Going into A4, look at Sake. Laying in the middle.
Sake?
Laying in the damage. Going in revenge for their honey.
No way!
Sake Wabe gets the quadra kill.
That was
great. That sounds fun, so I'll give it a chance. And then we ended up playing in high school the next 2 years together. We've been playing ever since. So he kind of taught me the game. We've been playing on a team since then, and then now we're in college, so we can't play together anymore.
We do love all the players Even the ones we shit talk. We love you all. We love you all.
Body Pluto looking for the plank. Trickster waiting, maybe looking for the steal. Pluto has his engage. The scatter of the weak comes through. Watch Levi though. Levi hasn't been touched just yet, but the damage is coming through. The melt line gets melted. Jinkwall on a killing spree, and all of Ottawa goes down.
Why, those don't go in. It goes off the sidebar.
Starting to come out, the flash is popped, the Rolling Thunder is utilized to perfection, and now it's all on Thiessen, but Thiessen just keeps on going.
Welcome to the MEC. Enjoy the show.
It's a rare occurrence. Mac has bluffed or messed up on the broadcast here. But thank you guys so much for joining us for our Friday night MEC coverage. My name, the aforementioned Mac Dewey, who sometimes has his mic muted. Joining me in the booth is a much more professional caster, and one I'm very happy to be joined with, Mr. Shibby Casts. How are you doing tonight, my guy?
I love how you say my Twitter name every single time we intro. It's not Shibby, it's just Shibby Cast. I'm doing good. We've got a strong set of matches today, honestly, and I'm very excited. Two powerhouse teams going to go at it in our first round, and then a sort of David versus Goliath matchup in the second kind of round here. We've got Cleveland State and Purdue Northwest, but the most exciting match coming up right now is going to be Grandview University and Purdue Northwest. And Mac, I know you've got a lot of opinions. The standings are a little different than what we suspected early on.
Yeah, absolutely. The Ohio Northern Polar Bears sit at the top of the standings at 5-0. They do have some rough matches ahead of them, taking on, I believe, PNW and Ottawa in the near future. But last week, they got an upset victory over Grandview, who now sit at 3-1, taking on the number 2 seed Purdue Northwest. Shibby, diving into this matchup, I mean, this is a matchup marked on people's calendars at the start of the season, and it's finally come. The prank revenge match. I saw his tweet earlier today. It was the Anakin versus the young Jedi. He said, "I'm sorry, little ones." As we get a live look at the rosters, breaking it down, should be on the blue side for game number 1. It's Prank in the top lane. Different colors this year. Same dominance. Doubtful in the jungle. Klexo rounds out the mid lane. Wind King comes, and Toponer still in support.
Yeah, on GVU's side, we've got Strict Proctor, Castle, Jinkall, Nightstar, and Pluto. And I know we've been talking a lot about Prank and kind of his revenge match going up against his old school, but really the stars for Purdue Northwest have been Doubtful and Klexo in that mid-jungle role, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, they've just been kind of the best 2v2 mid-jungle duo in MEC at the moment. They are just looking on fire. They've got the meta down. They've got all the champion picks. I feel like nobody can really step to them right now, and it's going to take a heroic effort from both Castle and Jinkall to kind of turn the tide, because Nightstar is definitely one of the carry players here, but I feel like GVU is just missing that extra little oomph and power coming into this match specifically, because Strict Proctor, the guy's been on Ornn and Udi or Duty. I feel like it's either Castle or Jinkall that really has to step into that secondary carry role.
And they have been known to make plays, right? Jinkall, I think, with the Corky pentakill earlier in the season. Castle's been looking to step things up, I think, a little bit. Last season, we saw a lot of Sejuani from the Grandview jungle, especially with Prank on Gwen in the top lane, right? Those sort of compositions were kind of natural for the team's play style. But now with Prank over on PNW, the rest of the team kind of has to figure out what their identity is outside of that. And they've had time to develop that. They've had some really close games against ONU even last week. I think those were some of the closest games we've seen all season, and really kind of showcases why we're so excited for the playoff matches to come later on. And so I think it will be interesting how they adapt after those losses. You know, they're no strangers to the long process of a season and the growth that comes with figuring out what your team does best. especially in the new season. So I think this is another test that they're going to have to try and take in stride as best they can. But I think for me, biggest consideration, I mean, we looked at the standings just a moment ago. They're sitting surprisingly for Grandview in the middle of the pack based on how the games have sort of worked out. Now, I think they'll sort of remain in that top 4 echelon, but fourth place is new territory for this team.
Fourth place might be new territory, Mac, but losing really isn't. I think we learned our lesson last year with GVU, right? We saw that they could bleed. They lost both of their matches to the second best team last year in Ottawa. But what ended up happening, right? They came to the playoffs. They did not drop a single game. They 3-0'd Ottawa twice, both in the winners final and grand finals. I mean, they had clean sweeped everybody, right? That's how dominant this team can look and has looked before. They're the 2-time champions, right? Back to back. So they can definitely hit that three-peat. And I think the one thing you don't want to do if you're Purdue Northwest is think that GVU is a slouching team. They're bad. They're not looking that good, because in a moment's notice, they can kind of just turn it up to 11 and win the whole league, right?
Exactly. In those games last week during ONU, I feel like we saw a little bit of a difference in the GVU playstyle than we're used to. Strong early game, and then actually ending up struggling a little bit during those mid-game team fights. So I wonder how that's going to impact things here in the draft as game number 1 is kicked off. The Friday night showdown between some of the top teams in the MEC commences.
Yeah, and really, we're on that new patch at the moment, I believe. Oh, no, it's actually 14.3. So, yeah, we're going to be still on that Karma train.
Oh.
Graphic is wrong, actually.
Don't believe your eyes.
14.4. Yeah, so Karma's still strong. She got a couple nerfs to her mantra Q, but realistically, you are maxing E and only putting points into that Q later on. So she's still a dominant pick. You should still ban it red side. And I like what Purdue Northwest is already doing, right? Strict Proctor hasn't really played anything other than the Udyr or the Ornn, right? So if you ban those champions out, you've got to tell him to say, hey, I've got to show you something new. I've got to perform on a different champion. And if you're first timing something against Prank of all people, he's more than welcome to punish you on things like the Gwen, the Gnar. We've seen him have a very advanced champion pool coming into this. And I want to see them pinch GVU's top laner and kind of force him on something that he's just not comfortable on, whether it's another tank like Sion, could be something more carry orientated like the Irelia or the Jax. I just want to see what GVU can actually do when Proctor's not playing a frontline tank.
Yeah. Shibby, do I keep the karma marker close?
Oh, 100%.
Are you expecting it to still come through? With, I mean, given it's nerfed a little bit, but you're still kind of expecting it to pop through on the red phase bands?
Yeah, it's still so good, right? Like I said, it's still one of the most OP champions here. I think if you're looking at the patch 14.4, Aurelion Sol got a couple buffs, Ahri as well, so we could see some Ahri Vi action in the mid and jungle, right? Really, really strong mid-jungle duo. We've got some Jace buffs. Cassante is still getting nerfed. Kaisa is another champion that's kind of been rising in popularity for that AD carry role, so we'll see if Wind King, an individual that is just so mechanically dominant, and we've seen him just kind of pop off consistently, is just, will be able to play that Kaisa very, very well. But the Gwen getting banned out here, GVU don't want to take any chances. They're not giving Prank his Gwen here. I think Purdue Northwest should just slam Karma B1 here.
Added a tally. Shibby, your psychic wave is picked up beautifully. Expert analysis from you, my man. As per usual, you're back like you never left. And I'm happy you're able to join us back for this match, man. It's going all according to plan. I know we were expecting the champion PNW just picked to be banned away, but it was out of respect, I think, for good reason. They take away Prank's signature champion. They know what the Gwen has done. They've seen the war crimes, Shibby. They've seen how badly he demoralizes the enemy. They say, guys, we gotta give Strict Proctor a chance up in that top lane. He can't be going up against Prank's Gwen. Hui and Xin Zhao locked in response, and these are two, I think, really strong champions right now.
Yeah, and I want to see if Purdue Northwest is going to trend towards that Ezreal Karma bot lane. I'm actually much more of putting Karma into the solo lanes. I think she's much stronger top or mid, right? The amount of damage, the amount of gold that she can get in those lanes just amps her to that 2-item power spike so quickly, and then she kind of just runs the mid game over. GVU definitely have a solid early to mid game composition here with that Xin Zhao, with that Hui as well, preemptively kind of picking that. Almost as if they expected Klexo to go the Azir here, right? There was really not anything else they could pick, and we might actually end up seeing a Mordekaiser for Strict Proctor here, which is definitely something different, right? But giving that counter pick, if you lock in that top laner early, you give all the credence for Prank to counter pick you. And I love Cassante, got a bunch of changes, but I feel like he's a little bit weaker now because of all the nerfs that came in.
Yeah, and we actually saw Klexo pop off on the Azir just last week, I believe.
Yeah.
And so really strong champs coming through. PNW are really, I'll say long-ranged comp. I think it's actually hard to get a hold of a lot of these champions. They're going to be able to space these mid-game teamfights potentially really well, so we'll have to see what comes through. PNW limiting the bot lane champion pool a little bit. I think surprisingly Shibby, Nightstar's champion has not been locked in, something we don't see too often. Actually, it's both bot lanes for the side of GVU. Sometimes we see something that I hadn't seen a lot before coming to the MEC was actually some of these support counter picks that we see red 5 from a lot of the teams, but it works out, and with Karma being such an important flex pick, they're like, okay, if it's in the top lane, we know that against a tank they should be pretty even, but when they save potentially the ADC pick for red 5, Chibi, that's just not something we see too often.
Yeah, it looks like they really want to put Nightstar in the best and most comfortable situation to carry here. Probably the Xayah going to be locked in regardless. I feel like Rakan works a little bit better with any of the other AD carry champions that are available here, although Olaf can just run amok despite anybody that's being picked on the AD carry side here. Although Ezreal Karma is such a strong 2v2, right? Rakan is pretty much a melee champion, right? He has a ranged auto, but he functionally is a ranged champion, or a melee champion. So the Karma and Ezreal are just going to kind of go in and go crazy. This probably is actually going to be an Olaf top with a Viego jungle. I think I like that flex from Purdue Northwest and kind of just negating everything that Cassante wants to do. You can't all out an Olaf that's ulting you. You lose a lot of that escapability and a lot of that CC that comes with the Cassante pick.
Yep. Is this, what is going on? On the Friday Night Showdown, GVU Red 5 Kog'Maw into the bot lane for Nightstar. Shibby, your facial reaction, I think, says a lot. They're cooking. And I think, from my perspective, right, Kog'Maw, really good ADC for the late game. Has so much damage when we get to the 30-minute, 40-minute mark. Against Ezreal Karma, I guess GVU are hoping that he can make it to that point, right, without too much trouble, because Ezreal Karma relatively weak in the early game.
Yeah, it's just a little confusing because they pop the Rakan with it. I mean, I feel like Kog'Maw is not the champion you want to mix with a Rakan support, right? You want Lulu, you want Soraka, you want any other enchanter other than this. And I think realistically, his Kog'Maw is just going to get ran over, right? You've got an Olaf, a Viego. You've got the ability for the Azir to scoop you. I don't think there's going to be any reason that GVU can win this game because it just looks like a tough draft. Ezreal Karma in the bot lane. You've got Azir in the mid lane. How do you set up around objectives? How do you win team fights? You kind of have to pray that you stomp that early game with that Xin Zhao, with that Hui. I like Hui into Azir. The mid lane matchup is really, really good. I think it functionally just serves as a neutralizer for the Azir. But Hui is just kind of, I don't know what he's gonna do against the Karma Ezreal. Like it's rough. You get outranged on GVU's comp side.
It's gonna be interesting, Shibby, as game number 1 is loading up summoners for our Friday Night Showdown. Welcome onto the Rift. It's Purdue Northwest taking on Grandview University. Should be 2 teams I see on Twitter as power ranked top 15 in the nation. 2 of them meeting on the Rift tonight. Let's get into it.
Those power rankings seem to be a little fraudulent, I will say. Those results were taken before Grandview lost to Ohio Northern here, right? Like, I feel like ONU definitely deserve a spot in that top 20 collegiate power rankings. Maybe Grandview gets butted out because of the losses that they got. They're kind of running on, I would say, their past performances. I think, like we said, the thing that Purdue Northwest doesn't want to do is count Grandview out, right? They definitely don't want to underestimate them. This is still a team that's really good at team fighting, superior objective setup, right? Fundamentally, you've have 4 of the 5 players in there, right? Prank is the only one that really left. And I think this is still a solid team that if you discount, if you underestimate, they will punish you. And so Purdue Northwest need to be on their A game. And I think they just need to play the way they've been playing previously in all these other weeks. And they should just come out with a relatively easy 2-0 victory. I feel like this draft is so good for Purdue Northwest.
And I feel like before we were talking about who's been the stars for Purdue Northwest, right? This is somewhat of a roster that was retooled during the offseason. And so far through the first few weeks, it's been Klexo and Doubtful that have really shown bright. And I think in this game, we're talking about the way the drafts are set up. I feel like it's the perfect game for Klexo and Doubtful to show why they're potentially the top mid-jungle duo in MEC.
Yeah, I mean, they have been able to face every challenge thrown their way and have kind of excelled, right? A+ grading across the board. And I think Azir Viego, a really cool mid 2v2, right? I think they function really well in some of these team fights where you can get the scoop onto the immobile carries like the Hui, like the Kog'Maw, and you just allow Doubtful to kind of just run amok through these immobile champions. You've also got a dive buddy with the Olaf. Purdue Northwest's composition is very well crafted to take these team fights as long as they can get the poke down with the Ezra, with the Karma, and then kind of hit that snap engage trigger with the Shurima Shuffle, or even potentially Prank on a flank here. We do see him have the Flash Go, so no TP available in that top side, so he's really going to have to kind of exert a lot of lane pressures. Now you see this Rakan Kog'Maw just not able to play the game against the Ezreal Karma.
And this is one of the potential dangers of this kind of lane. I know we mentioned Karma Ezreal, not the most notable aggressive early laners, but they can dish out so much poke damage against the early game vulnerable Kog'Maw and Rakan. But Nightstar pops the Ghost. The dive actually fails there in the bot lane, Shibby, and the GVU bot lane are able to kind of survive without the scratch. Right? Even though Ezreal Karma able to shove the lane in really effectively, get that level advantage, Nightstar Pluto, they're able to level up, and they're actually able to survive because of sort of the lack of dive potential from the early PNW duo.
Yeah, and typically what you see Viegos will do is they'll start, trying to invade onto the jungle. They'll use the lane priority of some of their winning lanes, like the Olaf, like the Ezreal Karma, and like you said, potentially facilitate dives, get early objectives. Realistically, Purdue Northwest shouldn't really lose any dragons up until maybe 3rd or 4th year, where Grandview are a little bit more comfortable to kind of fight. But that early game should be completely dominated by Purdue Northwest. There should be no reason that Doubtful isn't picking up dragons, isn't accelerating the pace of the game, so that Grandview can't fight them when they hit their power spikes, right? Your mid game for Purdue Northwest is absolutely insane here.
Yep, the junglers are going to meet on the top side of the map as Castle heads in. He's actually got a level lead on this Jin Zhao pick, but I think it's just going to result in the Scuttle Crab on the top side of the map going his way, and he might be able to race on down for the other Scuttle Crab as he cleans up and takes care of business here, gets the first one. Actually pathing towards the top side of the map. Strict Proctor's winning this duel. Prank's getting low as Castle tries to head on up. Doubtful in the area, has hit level 4, so junglers at the same level, but Shibby, Castle smells blood in the water.
And I feel like Prank has had this issue as we do potentially see a 2v2. Prank can't help. Doubtful is just going to have to flash away here because of that lane priority. Yeah, and Prank has had that issue, right? He dies early on. He gives a free death. He just kind of plays the lane a little lazy up until 6-7 minutes, and then he'll start kind of dominating. For whatever reason, he just has to int a little.
Oh, Strict Proctor's got to be careful here. Prank uses the Ghost, but Castle's still around. Prank trying to flash away, but Castle follows at first blood. Ooh. Prank's revenge game goes horribly wrong here to start. It's a double kill for Castle.
And a head scratcher move from Prank, right? We just saw the Zinzao invade Doubtful, right? You saw him flash out of the jungle. He's still on that top side. The goal to just kind of go in and say, I'm going to ghost onto this guy, I'm going to try to get him as low as possible. I don't think Doubtful was there ready for that call. I feel like there's a miscommunication there. There was maybe a small moment where we could have gotten a reset potential from Doubtful onto Castle, but it was too little too late. Proctor and Castle just absolutely masterfully play that out.
I think they might have picked up a few tricks from Prank's time at GVU as they're able to handle the top lane matchup, at least for the time being. We know, as you mentioned, Shibby, we've seen this before actually from Pranked quite a bit this season, and yet time and time again he's able to kind of figure things out. And honestly, here Purdue Northwest stand undefeated still, and so we'll see if GVU can keep it rolling in the top lane as they got a 1,000 gold lead. Castle ends up with the early Tiamat, but Prank's the first one to get level 6 up in the top lane. He's going to be shoving in the wave at the right time for Doubtful to start the Void Grubs.
Yeah, and it's really weird because Pranked didn't really have that issue when he was on GVU. I can't remember him dying so early, as though despite those early deaths, like you said, they're going to go for these grubs here, and we see Toponer have roamed up as well. This is the beauty of having that Ezreal lane. You can kind of just leave him alone, and there's no threat of a dive against a Kog'Maw and a Rakan specifically. So despite that early kind of mishap in that top side, they're still able to pick up the grubs, all three for themselves. But what I wanted to bring that point back to is that Prank wasn't really like this at GVU. He was much more calm, much more collected. It felt like he was playing a very controlled game on GVU, where on Purdue Northwest, yeah, he's got a lot of carry potential, but he's also kind of blundering a little bit in that top side.
Something I do want to note about this GVU composition, something I'm a big fan of, Shibby, Pluto on an Engager. I feel like time and time again when Grandview's rolling, it's on the back their support going in and making plays. We mentioned that, hey, this game for GVU, if you get ahead a little bit early, it probably feels a bit better as you head into the mid-game fights. They're going to try to prioritize this early dragon here. We'll see how that continues to go for them, as there's a lot of Purdue Northwest that want to run at you, and I'm looking at Pranked with his ultimate in the top lane. I'm worried for, as we kind of mentioned in the draft, I'll say Nightstar's survivability in some of these later fights.
Yeah, and it's such a good Olaf game, right? Because no one can stop him once he's at that ultimate form, right? Usually the Jarvan into Olaf is a really good thing because the Cataclysm kind of lock him in the baby cage. When he's forward, I don't know that.
Well, the flash is burned, but Toponer looking for the root isn't able to find it. Nightstar is getting low in the lane. He doesn't have heal, Shibby, only the Ghost. Grandview are going to try to shove in this bot wave, but it's hard with the range between the Ezreal and the Karma. Still a lot of summoner spells available. Dragon, at this point, I think GVU are just going to back off. It's too risky at this point.
Yeah, there's no real opportunity for them to kind of start the Dragon and definitively take it here. And so Purdue Northwest still can hit that Dragon timer. Still is 8.5 minutes if they can get that first dragon. They start ramping up around the 27 to 28 minute mark and get to that dragon soul point. But it feels like neither bot lane really wants to pull the trigger because the junglers have been hovering around. So they might just end up fighting for that second rotation of grubs here. As we see Pluto on a bit of a sneaky flank here.
He's down a level here. He doesn't have his ultimate yet, Shibby. I feel like he's just, at this point, trying to buy time for Nightstar to come back, but maybe he's going to try and stop these recalls. He's playing like a madman. And there we go. The bats are stopped. I bet they're wondering, wait, how did he see us? How did he see us where we were recalling? They shouldn't have vision there, but it's the Pluto in a bush. It's the planet from afar that'll still spot you.
I really thought Pluto was going to flash W, right? Or maybe wait for one of them to back and then get the other one kind of thing, right? Yeah. So, because they didn't sync it. Unfortunately, Grandview do not get rewarded for that kind of overstay, I'll say, in the bush. Pluto not resetting. It doesn't really matter, though, right? It is Rakan. He'll reset, pick up probably upgraded boots, start roaming towards that mid or top side here, potentially towards that second rotation of grubs. It'll be interesting to see how these teams kind of play around it. The gold lead hasn't really shifted. That 1,000 gold lead for them early on with that double kill in the castle hasn't really translated to much, although he does have the Titanic hat-trick completed. I feel like I haven't seen Castle do anything else.
They tried to look around in the bot lane between trying to lock down Ezreal Karma and trying to chase down Nightstar with the Ghost on Kog'Maw. It's been a little challenging for both junglers to make a play happen on the bottom side of the map, but with the lane priority, Nightstar and Pluto have been able to manage themselves. They're in sync with Castle a little bit, managing the waves, and I think actually stopping that Toponer back really sets themselves up here for the opportunity to get the first dragon of the game as Grubs spawn. The second set might be contested by GVU, but meanwhile, Prank getting low. Strict Proctor actually handling himself quite well. Didn't use the ultimate. Prank there uses a big cooldown. Yep.
Suspecting. That's so good for Grandview here that they get that 4-2 grub split and are just able to pick up the dragon as well. That's insane because I thought Purdue Northwest would be able to trade 6 grubs with the pushing power for that first dragon.
Yeah.
But neither of that happens, and Grandview are in a completely fine position here. They're more than happy to keep the game going at a slow pace for this Kog'Maw to start scaling up. As long as nothing gets too out of control.
The Mantra Q missed, flashing from Toponer, able to survive. Nightstar did burn Ghost. Doubtful is here in the bot lane. Chibi smells like something's up here a little bit. The minion wave shoving in. Pluto looking for his stun. He used his ultimate earlier to try and catch out Toponer, but here they are. The bot laners still going at it as Doubtful is just invading and taking away resources from Castle, but it's actually the GVU jungler who's up quite a bit of CS, and as we mentioned before, he's got that 2-kill advantage.
Yeah, that 1,000 gold lead now, 1.5.
Oh my gosh.
And those magic Qs are going to hurt. They're going to continue to hurt up until that 20 to 25 minute. Yeah, Karma is going to end up going that Malignance build as well, right? So she doesn't really go the typical support build where they'll build like Ardent Sensor or Shirelios or something like that. No, she's going to go full AP. She's going to go full AP, and it's going to hurt, right? It's going to be another big AP damage source that you have to kind of dodge out on Grandview's side. As Frank is just trying to bait Proctor into a fight, but I love how he's just been really easy going.
Here we go.
The all out.
Strict Proctor, the dashing, not as far as it was before, and Pranked Summoner Spell actually gets him out. Strict trying to go underneath the turret, Chibi, but Prank's able to get out of that fight.
Yeah, A-OK has to burn both his sums here. Strict Proctor still super healthy, just playing surprisingly well, right? I feel like I underestimated him a little bit when he was on the Ornn, on the Udyr duty. Yep. Doesn't pick either of those, goes into a counter pick matchup, right? Prank had full control, knew what he was going up against in that Cassante, as we do see bot lane potentially for GVU in a little trouble.
Uh-oh. Nightstar forced to flash away. Pluto avoids the stun. Castle is here with a level advantage on Doubtful. Toponer's at about half health here. It's been I'll say a calm little Friday night start here. 2 kills in the first 14 minutes. Not something we see every day on the MEC. A lot of poke coming out of the bot lane. A lot of close fights up in the top lane. Klexo and Jingqual, they're waiting for these mid-game team fights and bigger objectives to start fighting over, and it'll be interesting how they're able to impact the game here, because for the most part, they've just been kind of clearing waves.
Yeah, they've been farming, they've been shoving waves, and they're getting a little bit of damage here and there onto each other's tier 1 turrets. They actually haven't even roamed too much to help out some of their team. It's almost like a gentleman's agreement between Jingqual and Klexo. It's like, all right, we're both mid-game mages. Or we're both
shook hands
mages.
at the start.
Yeah, we want to farm. We want to wait until we're strong. It's okay. Let's let everybody else scrap us. Now, Castle.
Frank does have Ragnarok, but no summoner spells, and he's just going to get taken down as Castle's on a killing spree. 3-0-0 with Rift Herald up. GVU turned their attention to their next objective.
And Doubtful wasn't really in the vicinity to help out. I feel like Prank has been getting a bit over-aggressive onto Strict Proctor here, almost in a sort of desperation attempt to kind of feel like he needs to carry his Nightstar. Does have to back away from this turret. So bot lane tier 1 is going to go down to Purdue Northwest. They're going to get that first turret gold, even it up just a little bit. And we kind of ignored, I wouldn't say ignored this bot lane, but we kind of didn't really see how much pressure Wind King and Topona were putting onto Nightstar and Pluto, right? First turret going down, a sizable CS lead, right? They're in the position to carry. Strict Proctor should get that return turret here.
Now GVU, they see the next dragon spawning up here in about 13 seconds, but at this point in the game, they might decide just not to fight over this one. Purdue Northwest have complete control over this part of the map. Pluto's W there gets interrupted by the Karma root. Topona able to slow down his support nemesis, I'll say, as PNW managed to secure a Drake for themselves. So Void Grubs have been traded, Dragons have been traded, turrets potentially going to be traded with Rift Herald. Jinqual trying to get out, but the flash in. Emperor's Divide catches him. 5 members mid. Purdue Northwest, they group up. Klexo with the huge pick for PNW's first kill of the match.
And Purdue Northwest call all the boys onto Jinqual here, right? They send everybody, the military, the Navy, the Coast Guard, just to make sure this guy goes down, and rightfully so. I think that's a really big kill onto that mid lane, onto that mid laner. You get a nice kill onto Doubtful, who can start potentially getting that Viego snowball going here, right? Castle has all the kills on Grandview, right? So he's in that position to carry, but I'm much more afraid of this Viego, right? In these team fights, when he can start resetting. Klexo with a beautiful, beautiful Emperor's Divide push onto Hui to kind of just keep him out of the fight and just serve him up on a platter for Purdue Northwest.
Yeah, and I think some of the logic with that, yeah, Klexo burns some big cooldowns, but it's right after picking up a major objective fight. And so I think it ends up, you know, as we're kind of saying, pretty worth here for PNW. GVU, still that classic 1,000 gold lead, sticking around as we hit the 17-minute mark. Baron's going to be spawning a little soon, the next dragon as well. Rift Herald still hasn't been used. Castle has it in his inventory as GVU. They're clearing out some vision all around. Nightstar pushing in that mid lane. A lot of these late game threats, they've gotten the opportunity here in the early game. Nobody's got a crazy lead, and this is actually where GVU was last week against ONU, but Shibby, this time, is it going to be a different story for them?
Yeah, I think we've kind of relied on the narrative for GVU that they have like excellent team fighting. Come mid game, they always kind of bring their A game here, right? When it comes to that objective team fighting, but it's a different team, right? It's a different look, and they might have kind of hyper indexed on a couple other aspects of their game and may have lost that team fighting touch here, while other teams like Purdue Northwest, like ONU, have kind of closed that gap just a little bit. A lot of these guys coming either with a completely new roster, if you're looking at Purdue Northwest, or for ONU side, keeping a lot of their strong pieces like Kai, like Kato, and kind of just building upon that. And so I feel like the gap is closed, and Grandview kind of can't really lean back on what they were really good at and have been forced to evolve come into this MEC year.
We do see Castle pick up a second completed item. It's Titanic Hydra and Sundered Sky, 2 really strong items here. In the early game, right around the 20-minute mark, is exactly when you want to be getting these 2 items together, and he actually has such a big gold lead over Doubtful that it's pretty much an entire item advantage. Doubtful only with those 2 longswords in his inventory, so it's going to be on Castle. He's got the Rift Herald, he's got the items, he's got everything. Can he step up and be a big playmaker for GVU here, as the entire squad, they got 4 members here in the mid lane. Strict Proctor teleports up top.
Proctor TPs to the top side like you mentioned, and this game super quiet, right? 4 kills, 19.5 minutes in, and that's what Grandview wants to do, right? Not to say that Purdue Northwest doesn't have scaling options of their own. Azir, really good in the late game. Ezreal can do a lot of damage, becomes slipperier and slipperier as he goes into the later stages of the game, right? Once he starts building the Navori quick blades, once he starts getting more CDR and cooldown, right? He's going to be able to arcane shift kind of everywhere on the map, and he's going to be much harder to kind of take down. And you don't really have a true frontline with Grandview. You have Cassante, that's kind of it. And so this Karma Ezreal can kind of just blast away onto Hui, onto Kog'Maw, onto Xin Zhao, and they can't really do much about it, as we do get a quick flash of the gold here. top lane for Grandview, top side for Grandview, just in nice sizable chunks here. Riftrail does get dropped. Maybe a fight starts here?
Opponent flashes away from getting caught there. I think got hit by one of Jinqual's abilities there, dragging him in, but flashes away from Strict Proctor, knocking him back. Dragon spawning in 30 seconds here. Both teams, I want to note, should be really fast Baron squads. These objectives are going to go
100%.
down in the blink of an eye, so the setup is critical here before these big fights. Who's going to be warding? Who's going to be getting vision? And honestly, for these fights with the Azir, so much range. Strict Proctor looking for the end. Castle does so much damage, and Toponer goes down. They picked off support, but look at the carries in the back. Klexo goes down as well. Wind King can't pump out enough damage, and it's GVU who sees the moment.
What a nice Intofo strikes from the Cassante, right? Proctor onto Toponer to knock him back into the team, and he kind of starts a fight when they don't want to. Is now maybe a re-engage?
3v3, Prank's angry. He's running into the entire squad as Nightstar and Pluto both have to retreat. Wind King dishing out so much damage. Here comes Jinqual. He answers back. He takes down Prank in a 1-for-1. And he's looking for potentially more. Pluto and Strict Proctor, they're playing with fire as Castle secures the objective. Pluto actually gets sniped. Wind King picks up another.
Kind of make that an even fight. Pseudo even will say that 3v3 skirmish here, just kind of crazy from Purdue, right? They recognize that Castle's on the dragon. Jinqual is nowhere really near, and they're like, all right, we'll just go for a fight because Pluto W'd on in, kind of baited his team a little bit with that engage, and you just saw kind of Frank run through the rest of the enemy team. I was thinking Doubtful was going to take over another body and kind of keep going with the reset potential. Didn't want to go under that turret, didn't want to give too much gold here, so not the worst fight from Purdue, but Grandview, I mean, we talked about their superior team fighting and kind of how it was a lazy narrative, but right there, they kind of showed why they're so good.
Yeah, they pick up quite a bit of gold, as well as that other dragon we mentioned. I'm constantly keeping eyes with this game so close. When are the teams going to be picking the right fights? Nightstar, I want to say, is a little bit behind Wind King at the moment. The Kog'Maw, Grandview still have their hyper late game carry scaling up here to potentially take over the fights later on, but it's a potential pick onto Pluto. Klexo, flash available, ultimate available. Not going to burn it there to try and take down the support. He's got to save those for the upcoming fight. Both mid laners on 2 completed items, so they're at about equal strength. And it's going to come down to the gameplay here. Should be. This is it, man. MEC regular season action. I don't think gets much better than this.
Yeah, one team fight could just break this game open for either team. Is Pluto. This is the ultimate, but can't find anything.
He was slowed down to Poner's Q, and I think Frank's Q as well. Just one slow after another, hitting him from pretty long range. It's going to be... He engages for Pluto, right? With the flash that I think are going to be necessary to get through a lot of that CC. Talking about Nightstar, though, he does get that Gwinsu's completed, so a big damage buff here, I think, for the Kog'Maw. Remember what I said earlier, should be both teams very fast Baron and just overall objective taking. They got a lot of DPS on both squads. They're not relying on burst damage, and here we go. Should be a potential pick here onto the back line. Prank's trying to take down Pluto, but the damage to Poner is low. The support goes down here.
Watch Nightstar.
Jinqual with the kill. Pranked goes down as well. GVU, they are thriving in this mid game. They're taking the fights, and they're coming out on top. PNW, I don't know, Shibby. I mean, they don't have the best engage. Pranked looks like he's just getting melted here.
It was just so decent as well, right? Klexo needs to go in, needs to scoop somebody up, but he's off to the side. He's not ready with Prank to kind of go in, right? We talked about the dive potential and how Nightstar should be in trouble, but the issue is Doubtful can't get in, Klexo can't get in. You kind of have Prank trying to 1v5, but the issue is when he uses that ultimate on the Olaf, he shreds a good chunk of his magic and armor resistance. And so Nightstar, as long as he's decently positioned or well positioned enough with that W auto extended range, he's gonna melt him like butter. And so Purdue Northwest, just head scratcher decision. They start the Baron to start a fight, and then the rest of the team isn't really there to kind of follow up on Prank, and so he's kind of left out to dry, and the rest of the team fight kind of breaks down, and Grandview just take advantage of a really, really bad decision from Purdue Northwest and turn it into a 5,000 gold lead.
They are cooking here in game number 1. Big gold lead, about 4,500 with Baron buff. This is, I mean, against a team as good as PNW, I think they're looking at where they are right now in the game. They're pretty happy, but hey, you got a lot fight left here. Pluto looking for the engage, gets knocked back here. Castle going in as well. They want to look for these fights. Oh my gosh, Doubtful gets deleted. Wind King forced to back off. It's Nightstar versus the world. He ghosts in and is just one auto attack after another. He deletes Wind King's health bar, who's forced to back away, and now is that power spike I was talking about. Should be the 2 items. Nightstar is here and he's ready to go.
Blade of the Ruin King and Guinsu's Blade here. They're just trying to push this tier 2 down. Dragon's up in 20 seconds. They'll probably pick that up on the way out here as a consolation prize for themselves. And Grandview have just kind of had complete control of this game, right? Those early kills from Castle, the objective trading. We talk about bot lane not being in really any trouble. Yeah, you lose the first turret, but realistically, Nightstar was in very little danger, was keeping relatively even in CS, was down about 15-20, but he's Kog'Maw. Once he gets to that 2-item power spike, he just will shred your team, and there's no good dive threat onto this Kog'Maw, right? I thought Klexo would be able to do something, or Doubtful. These two guys, historically, at least in this league, have just been really, really good in the mid 2v2 and just been able to make plays for the rest of Purdue Northwest, but like you mentioned, they just don't have that trigger. They don't have that go button like an Alistar, like a Rel could do. It's more hodgepodge cobbled together, and if they're not in sync, if they're not playing together, you can see what Grandview does.
Well, they're going to start picking up some objective bounties to try and get a little bit of that gold back. Baron buff is slowly dwindling. I think they got about 30 seconds left on it, Shibby. Nightstar's here in the mid lane into Toponer. Oh, whoop. Flag? Maybe a little bit. 4v5 situation now. 4v4 on the top side. Jin Qualls on the bottom. Pranked. Ultimate ready. Ghost ready. This is when you want to look for the fight. Nightstar is safe in the back line. Castle trying to go in, but he's getting melted. Nightstar is still alive though, Shibby. Nightstar's firing away from the back. He's untouched on a rampage. It's a double kill in the mid lane for the GVU ADC as Jin Qual comes through trying to even things up.
That's game 1.
Complete the ace, and there we go. GVU popping off. Nightstar takes over the fight.
Oh, that was a massive, massive blunder from Toponer here. They've got a couple minions here to take that mid lane tier 1. Let's see if they can block this Karma Q. May not be game. Death timers are still a little short here, but they definitely get that mid lane inhibitor turret. They've got bot lane pushing as well because Jincall was shoving that the whole time Purdue Northwest were taking that fight on. It was a 4v4 because Toponer went down so early because of that blunder. They're going to crack the base open. They're going to get so much more because of a simple misstep.
GVU, they get 2 inhibitors, one in the mid lane, one in the bot lane, and they're able to walk on out of there with almost an 8,000, 9,000 gold lead, Shibby. It has ballooned up after that fight, and GVU pretty much in complete control. And what a game here. I mean, Nightstar's Kog'Maw really shown here. We had our nerves about it early on, but I mean, hey, it's working out here in these team fights. They're playing around it really well. And I think we were also worried, hey, in the middle of this game, Castle, you've got the lead. What are you going to be able to do with it? He coordinates with the team. They get back-to-back really good fights. And GVU really showing why they're a top threat here in the MEC. It's been fun to watch. As they've got Baron coming up, potentially in about minute 20. Might go for that again, but 2 waves of super minions. Look at where the wave is at on the bot lane.
And I want to bring that point back to Nightstar being that dominant carry. We talked about Grandview needing somebody else to kind of pick up that secondary carry role, pick up that baton. Well, 2 members right now in both Jincall and Castle have kind of just put the pants on and said, you know what, we'll help you out. We'll put some of that weight on our shoulders. And 409, right, nearly 90% KP for Castle, but also Jincall has just been having a quietly good game. He's been really good with this way, one of the newer champions that has been released, and it seems like he's taken the time to really master it and has neutralized Klexo's Azir completely.
Let's see, GVU still got a road ahead of them. However, I think they can see the light at the end of the tunnel here. Doubtful and Prank are the ones trying to defend this top lane turret, but it's all 5 of GVU squatting up here, working as a team, knocking that objective down, and they're just gonna, I think, keep going here, but gotta watch for Doubtful on the side here. He's looking for an angle to try and get in. Klexo, Emperor's Divide, Flash is coming up as well. Could be a hero play in the making. Purdue Northwest, they need a Hail Mary at this point to try and get back into this one. Baron has spawned. GVU gonna start looking for the objective, and Nightstar, I mean, he's just gonna take the flamethrower to this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's just insane how fast they kind of take this down, and they don't got to worry about it, right? Doubtful's here, but can he steal? Flash is available.
Here we go, Doubtful. I think he has the angle. Castle trying to save time. They're going to back off. They want the fight. They don't need the objective. But here is Prank running straight into Nightstar, but he's full HP. He's chilling as well. Doubtful trying to ult over. He steals the Baron. Purdue Northwest. They take the objective, but Wind King stuck in the pit. Nightstar is still alive, and he's firing away. He's got a triple kill. PNW, they steal Baron, but will they lose the game in response?
Prank and Toponer, the 2 members alive. As I say that, just lives with the sliver of his health. But everybody on the side of Grandview is up and ready to push down. They've got supers in the bot lane. They've got supers in the mid lane. They don't want the Dragon Soul. They don't want anything. They're just going to take the tier 2. They're going to take these inhibitor turrets. They're going to take these Nexus turrets here. I think this is the end of game 1 for Purdue Northwest.
Prank still got his ultimate. He's charging in, trying to get to Nightstar, but the Kog'Maw stays alive. Mark Gonzalez has arrived on the Rift. Ladies and gentlemen, Grandview University take game number 1.
In a dominant and convincing fashion, Grandview, they can bleed. You might be able to cut an arm off, maybe a leg, but they're not out, that's for sure. I mean, just absolute dominance from them in game 1 against one of the top teams in the league at the moment, a team that we thought was the best team in the league. Grandview has just completely dominated them on every single front, in the jungle, right, in the bottom lane, in objectives. I mean, Grandview just looking like a well-oiled machine. And I said Purdue Northwest should not count them out, should not underestimate a team like Grandview University. And
yeah,
I don't think it was underestimation. I just don't think they were ready for what Grandview was about to do to them.
I'll say what kind of surprised me about this first match, Shibby, GVU, it's the pranked game. You know we're thinking about this matchup in the top lane. Strict Proctor taking on Pranked. If you're PNW, you've got the former GVU top laner up there. You're not going to worry about him too much, but that's exactly where GVU attacked. Strict Proctor and Castle worked together like a prime duo here in game number 1, which I think was really huge. Crazy first match here.
Yeah, and I gotta apologize, right? I really do. Strict Proctor, I was not familiar with your game, and I thought this guy just plays tanks. He doesn't really do anything.
He's a Lord Udyr.
He plays Udyr. He plays Ornn. No. He dropped the Cassante in after the nerfs, took it up, blinded it against Prank, and was just like winning the lane, surviving. Yeah, that's a tough, tall order to go against, and he completed that very, very well. And we've got a couple more games here, at least one more minimum for this series. So I'm very excited to see kind of how Purdue Northwest can bounce back and potentially give us a 3-game series.
Hey, Shibby, it's easy to talk when you're up, right? Well, we'll see. It's a best of 3 series. We've got more PNW versus GVU action coming your way, and I feel like this match, more than any other, sort of speaks to how esports events are really more than just a place to compete. It's a social experience that is truly wonderful, I think, for us to be able to experience. You get to meet friends and rivals, bond and grow with your peers, and create memories that really define someone's entire esports experience. It can capture the passion of esports in its truest sense. Gamers and their experiences are just one aspect that are covered in Unified's newest offering, Mastering the Arena. People Power Esports, which you can read in the Twitch chat. You can grab the link by using the command !People Power in the chat. Be sure to check that out. We're going to hop into a quick break. Don't click away from that browser. We're coming up in just a bit with game number 2 of Purdue Northwest versus GVU. You won't want to miss it.
First question I want to ask is getting to play at LANs is obviously pretty exciting here at MEC, but what are some of the things that make LANs and offline events like this so exciting for you? What do you look forward to?
Free food.
Free food!
Free food, yeah.
Let's go!
Yeah,
Big!
I mean, just traveling with people is always fun.
Uh-huh.
Unless it's longer than an hour drive.
Then you're like, it's not worth it. Yeah, free food's fine, but I mean, an hour in the car with these guys.
Yeah, very tired.
I understand. The second question, you're on the dev team, all right, at Riot Games, and you need to bring in a character for the next champion in League of Legends. It could be a character from another IP, a show, a real person. Who are you bringing in?
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Kirby.
Kirby?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Any specific parts of the kit that you're like, this would work well?
I guess.
I mean, you got Tom Kent.
Yeah,
soon,
Tom
you know?
Kent,
Yeah.
I just realized.
Yeah,
Maybe,
yeah. I mean, Kirby's got like the big hammer, you know, the sword, or maybe. Okay, wait, no, you could still do it where they take on like the Q of like Kirby takes on the Q of the champion it eats.
Or like, just a different weapon. Each ability.
Yeah, that's it.
Another way.
Yeah, another way. Yeah, more abilities for commentators to have like infinite names on. Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks. No, finally, of anybody on your team in PNW, who is most likely to go viral, for better or for worse? Who's gonna end up on the For You page and it's like,
Probably Winky.
Winky, all right. Yeah. Any context? Like what's in the mid?
I would say he's just outgoing and likes to dance.
Charismatic guy. Okay, maybe hitting the next TikTok dance. Well, easy enough. Appreciate you. Good luck in the games. The first question I want to ask, coming to these live events, coming to LANs like this, what do you most look forward to whenever it comes to offline events?
So, I actually really like meeting people. I know some of them, like the GVU boys. I'm actually very big friends with the castle, and I like dancing. It's fun.
I'm a little fan of the banter myself. The second question I want to ask, you're on the dev team, all right? You're at Riot Games. So we made a couple calls. Pulled open the
You don't
Razor
want me on
flip
there.
phone.
I'd be real biased.
Here's the thing, though. First thing on the docket, you have to bring in a new character to League of Legends. Could be from any IP. Could be a real life person. Who are you bringing in first?
Can I make like my own? Can I like take a preset power set and like put it in the league?
Under the guise of like a character, or like?
Okay, hear me out here.
Okay.
Imagine an ADC like Soldier 76. How cringe would that be?
Ooh, okay, what?
Think about it. They said, they want
It's
to be the starting
Lucian, but you can't miss these.
ADCs can't complain. Play better.
Wait, isn't that auction? At that point?
Man, you see that man spin around you? Come on.
Yeah, okay, well, I mean, yes. 76 hasn't spun like that since his early 20s, so.
Yeah. His ult just kills your team.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I mean, yeah, skill list. Final question of anybody on PNW. Who's most likely to go viral? And for better or for worse?
For good or bad reasons.
Any reasons, and why? What's showing up on the For You page, and then you're like, oh god.
If I gotta sell someone here, I would say it would be my jungler. He's a very interesting fellow.
Right, yeah, and any context, any ideas, any inklings?
How do I word this?
Oh, yeah. This is good.
It's difficult. I do definitely think he's a interesting character. For better or worse.
Yeah, just inciting a lot of thought and conversation. That kind of person. Just.
Well,
really...
lack of thought, if anything. But I would say, if you didn't know him, you might think, there was some money being traded in your game.
Ooh.
That's how I word it.
It's scandalous.
Yeah.
Well, hey, virality is, there's no bad publicity, they say. Maybe. All right, well, I appreciate you. Thanks for coming.
Pleasure meeting you guys.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our continuing coverage of the Midwest Esports Conference 2024 CLOL season. Our Friday night showdown match continues between two of the top teams, Grandview University taking on Purdue Northwest. And in game number 2, it was a bit of a slow start, Shibby, but GVU really got rolling during the mid-game.
Slow, methodical, surgical. You slice it any way you want. You can look at it. Regardless, GVU came out with the W in game 1. And honestly, just a masterful performance from them, right? Their bot lane going up against arguably one of the strongest champion 2v2s, right? Ezreal Karma, not a fun lane. I had my reservations. I was like, Kagma Rakan? That should get dog
Really?
walked. Yeah, I was like, what? And then they kind of just handled it pretty well. Nightstar showing why he's one of the best ADs in our league right now. And yeah, okay, their first turret went down. It went over to Purdue Northwest, but it was fine because they had leads across the other side of the map, right? Proctor doing a damn good job into Prank against this revenge game and just kind of showing like, I replaced you and I just might be better than you. You never know. Casante taking that into counter pick of Prank for that Olaf and just kind of handled it really well. And I think Castle just did a really good job as well, being on the map, not necessarily being everywhere all at once as some of the other junglers, but just kind of being in the right places at the right times, right? Top lane for that 2v2, bottom lane for that skirmish, right? They get the dragon, then they rotate up onto the grubs, they contest that, they get the 4-2 split. They're also there once again in the top lane to kill Prank so they can get the Rift Herald. I mean, it was just really, really well played, and I like GVU, and like I said, don't underestimate them, don't count them out, because this is the 2-time champions. Dreyer brought the belt out after last week, Mac, and he whipped them into shape.
They got things going, and it really kind of seemed like everything went according to the GVU plan in game number 1. And shout out Dreyer for chefing up the draft and getting the players situated here, because it's time to get down to business. Thinking about the regular season standings, GVU, a loss here. There's only 7 games, and getting 2 losses under your name is less than ideal here. So they're trying to even the score a little bit up and seeing if they can still work their way into the conversation around the top few teams here in the league. So it seems like at the rate some of the squads are going, whoever's in the first seed might only have 0 losses or maybe just even 1. So I feel like that critical second loss sort of knocks you out of the conversation a little bit. But regardless, here, GVU, they took game 1 off of Purdue Northwest in decisive fashion. They showcased a lot of their talent as to why they're viewed so highly. And, you know, as you mentioned, Shibby, they got the history, they got the banners, back-to-back champions, and it's going to be fun to see how the 2 teams handle game number 2. I'm guessing the sides will swap, which will make things a little bit interesting in the draft, as both teams might have to shift up their sort of style a little bit. We saw Purdue Northwest really value the strong Karma pick, and here in actually rare form, Shippy had actually walked away with a loss.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised. Still super dominant. Was put into that support role, which, like I said, much more of a fan of it in that top lane, in that mid lane, where it can get a lot more gold income. It can impact the map a little bit more, especially in that mid lane. You can roam up to those top lane fights, the dragons, the rift heralds, the grubs, all that kind of stuff, and just have way more impact. As you are correct, Mac, the sides do swap here. GVU on the blue side, Purdue Northwest on the red side here, and the 1 to 2 seeding spot is so important for the regular season, right? Because you'll end up matching up in the first round against our 2 worst teams at currently right now, are Cornell and CSU, and that's a very, in theory, easy first round matchup for you, right? So GVU probably arguably want to get that first place regular season standing, but first or second can just kind of at least give you a little bit of a buffer, a little bit of that easy match into the playoffs.
Yeah. As we get underway into game number 2 draft, Shibby, the Friday night showdown continues, man. I'm super excited to be rocking the cast with you as Senna, similar ban, and Karma on the red side. PNW switching things up. They've read the Shibby Gospel, ban Karma on red side, and hopefully good fortune shall follow your way. Let's see if it pans out here. Is GVU not changing up much in terms of their bans, and for PNW in game number 2, they're kind of going back to the drawing board here a little bit. Prank with the Olaf, not something we saw a lot of before, specifically in the top lane. Honestly, when it was locked in, I was thinking it was going to go into the jungle and maybe put Pranked on something different in the top lane. So I wonder if they'll think about that a little bit. Doubtful and Klexo, we were hyping the mid-jungle duo up a little bit for PNW, and honestly, in game 1, I think came up a little bit short. We talked about some synchronization issues. The mid-game fights didn't look great from them, so I wonder what we'll see. As you're kind of thinking, Shibby, Strict Proctor's champion pool open. His classics, the Udyr, left open potentially, as Castle's going to be going back to the Xin Zhao that was so strong in game number 1. And Shibby, is that good crystal ball on point for you, my guy?
So far, so good, at least in the first round. A Nocturne Nico, such a good R1, R2. I lied. It's broken. Throw it out. It's actually Nico Lee Sin here. That's also a pretty strong 2v2 mid-jungle wise, right? You can still get a lot of those Nico engages off. I think Nocturne would have been a little bit better, at least for those team fights. But if you're looking for those early skirmishes, if you're looking for some power, come to those grubs, come to those dragons. Yeah, Lee Sin is your guy, an absolute monster. And we talked about it a little bit on that MEC podcast earlier. We've been blessed with a lot of good Lee Sins in the MEC,
yes,
right?
We have.
Cool ones, a lot of mechanically sound ones like Prod, right? Castle, now Doubtful that's gonna be a Yorick locked into the top side for Prank into the Udyr. Mac, when was the last time you saw this champion?
I'm not gonna lie, Shibby. And you know, we can check match histories and stuff. Last night, literally just last night, I got humbled. I got humbled on the Rift by Sir Yorick Mori. That's right, I'm knighting him. Sir Yorick of Mori in the top lane is an absolute menace, split push threat. 1v1 god, so much healing, a lot of damage to boot. We were running. I was actually playing Xin Zhao, so I know from a bit of experience that Xin Zhao into Yorick, not very fun. Turns out Yorick can survive through all the damage I was dishing out and just heal it up and kill me right back. So we'll see how it looks here. In terms of the cast, Shibby, I think it's been eons since I've seen Yorick Mori when I've been in the booth.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen this champion, and he did get a slew of buffs, not this patch, but actually last patch in 14.3. The mana cost for his Q went down, the heal went up, right? It's based off of his missing health. The passive for his little minions, his ghoulies that he gets off, the movement speed he gets is not better. The cast time for his E went down. He just got a lot of nice changes. Is now, I'm a little confused.
Nico boss?
Nico support, right? This is what I'm thinking now. Purdue Northwest is kind of cooking in the kitchen. I don't know if the pan is burnt or if they're making the most fabulous of gumbos right now, because I'm very confused in Purdue Northwest draft here. GVU going a little bit substandard, and there we go. Zeri Maokai put into that bot lane. Another late game carry for Nightstar. And, you know, if it ain't broke, you don't got to fix it. The man carried game 1 on a late game carry. Yeah. Didn't feel that much pressure, as we do see the Smolder that was banned out last game. Locked in for Purdue Northwest. Win King on arguably a harder late game carry. That's a hard one, because I feel like Smolder can do I feel like Smolder at that 225 mark stack, just kind of true damage and the execute is so crazy. But Zeri got a couple buffs. We've seen what she can do. Her items got a little bit nerfed, but I still think she's that, zip zoop zopping around, kind of that annoying mosquito play style. Eventually she's gonna start hitting you like a dump truck.
What's really interesting to me, Shibby, with this composition for PNW, reflecting back a little bit with what happened in game number 1 versus game number 2, does it look like to you that really they didn't fix a lot with what went wrong in game number 1? I'm a little worried about how this composition is going to go. I know completely different champions here. Toponer, I think, has a lot more agency in these team fights, which I could think is really helpful. Doubtful gets to show us his Lee Sin here in the game, which, it gives in its takes, right? They're going to live and die, I think, by Doubtful here, which I think will be fun to watch. And then Pranked, obviously, Yorick does a lot of different things compared to Olaf, but one of the things I think they kind of struggled with was the engage, which I don't think they have a lot of here.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Toponer on the hair trigger, Klexo as well. They've got these kind of, I'll say, situational engages, right? You've got to kind of get that ultimate going, sneaking in with the minion or disguised up as Nico, or potentially Klexo once again has to kind of flash Emperor's Divide. They do have Doubtful on that Lee Sin. That Dragon's Rage is there for the insect, but it's rough. I don't know who you realistically can get onto. Zeri is just going to be kind of moving and grooving around the map here. Jinkall on this way once again, happily will take it into Klexos' ear. So I feel like Grandview just got everything they wanted, and Purdue Northwest kind of had to go back to the shop and cook a little.
Well, we're on to the Rift. Summoners, welcome into game number 2. It's a best-of-3 series. GVU with a win here, move on into a happy weekend. Purdue Northwest trying to even things up and give us more what Mac and Shibby are craving, more MEC. Give it to us. We need more MEC, more action on the Rift. I'm hoping we get a good one here. Some extremely interesting champions, some new ones, in fact. Might be the first time gracing your screen. Win King on the Smolder. I'm curious how this one's going to look. And one of the things kind of notable for me here, Shibby, Nightstar and Pluto once again put into a bot lane situation that is far from easy.
I think the added benefit here is that Smolder, a weak early game champion, right? Can't really put a lot of pressure on the lane.
Was
Win King
nerfed
has
recently.
opted in. Yeah, it was nerfed quite a bit, actually, right? I mean, it was kind of taking over games a little bit too much here. Still that late game threat, like you mentioned, that W Still really good for that in-lane harassment, but the build that we've been seeing, at least with this rune item choice from Wind King, right, is that you end up just going Navori's into Essence Reaver. You kind of just become this auto attack champion that can execute once he hits 225 stacks. I would like to get periodic check-ins for Wind King, right? Because the really good thing I've seen about Smolders, and it's a really cool champion because it can kind of really define who is like understanding this champion, who has mastered it, and who's not that good, right? Because a lot of the really great Smolders, a lot of the pro-level Smolders are able to hit that 200 to 225 stack mark around the 18 to 20 minute mark here.
Crazy.
So if Wind King is doing it correctly and he's got mastery of this champion, he should be kind of close to that.
I've been playing it a little bit, Shibby. It's hard to get to that point, so I'll be really impressed if I wasn't able to do it at that quickly. So something fun to watch. We'll see how good Wind King is with the new champ, because it's hard, honestly, to try and practice it enough to get it stage ready here for the big matchup. So we'll see. Also, I feel like the ultimate for Smolder, one of the more unique ones, the timing is not similar to many other ultimates, so I'll be curious if they're able to take advantage of that. It does give them some of what I'll say they kind of struggled with in the early game, maybe, of the last game, where in those fights where Wind King was kind of in the backline trying to fire away. I think the ultimate helps with diving onto the backline, hopefully trying to lock in onto Jinqual in Nightstar.
Strict Proctor, just kind of the Udyr of MEC, right? Opened up week one. It's seared into my memory, Mac, where he just kind of walked in onto Briarcliff's jungle as Udyr and just killed the Vi. A mic there for them. And just a staple in his champion pool. I'm surprised that Purdue Northwest actually gave it over since they banned it out in game one here, but they felt like there were other things to prioritize, other things to take away here. And so Strict Proctor back on his bread and butter. Prank this time on a different champion, somebody that can kind of wrangle that lane control that Udyr really loves to get, right, with the Empowered R, his trading ability with the Empowered W, the shield that Yuso outright say is completely outrageous, right? The Empowered W is just crazy. Yorick, one of the few champions that can wrestle with Udyr and gain lane priority.
Castle on the top side of the map saw a lot of success from the GVU jungler pressuring the top lane early on, but he might be looking mid. There's not a lot of camps to steal, as Doubtful on this side of the map as well. Nightstar getting extremely low on the bottom side of the map is gonna maybe just recall here. They don't have teleports to Poner, trying to interrupt it. Pluto, I think, actually would have been safe. Same with Nightstar, but Shibby, they're gonna stay along for the ride. They're gonna try and pick up that CS, as Doubtful is the jungler with the early top lane priority this time around. Strict Proctor has to be careful as Nightstar goes down in the bot lane. Purdue Northwest coming into game number 2 with a whole lot of aggression. Doubtful getting stunned up, but Klexo is here as well. 3 members of Purdue Northwest coming to hunt Strict Proctor as he dashes in and picks up the kill.
We talked about that lane control. We talked about Prank being able to wrestle it away from the Udyr and setting up that dive. Doubtful comes in, Klexo comes in, and they know they've got the advantage in the top side. They were able to kill bottom lane as well, and Purdue Northwest kind of taking a page out of Grandview's book, getting that early kill onto some really crucial members, right? Azir and Smolder, your carries for this game, each picking up a little bit of chunk of change in their pockets.
I know Grandview, the bot lane, they knew it was dangerous trying to stay for that extra wave, but they wanted it. They wanted the XP, they wanted the gold, they wanted to try and pull it off. 3 grubs in the early game once again goes to Doubtful. Jinqual level 6, flashing in, misses, and using the ultimate there, trying to lock down Doubtful. The slow, the wind becomes lightning, and Castle becomes a killer there in the jungle, locking down Doubtful, and that's pretty big. GVU grabbing some momentum.
The wind becomes lightning and Doubtful becomes dead there. Really well played from Castle and Jinqual, that 2v2 mid-jungle, right? We talked about Klexo, we talked about Doubtful, but Castle and Jinqual have kind of just been matching them as Castle on and engage. I don't know if Klexo can win this.
Oh, it's a lot of damage coming from Jinqual. Castle getting low, and oh my gosh! Castle goes down, the walls tumbling, and he's going to get sent back to base. Too aggressive, Klexo flashing away, able to survive.
I mean, Castle got what he came for, right? He wanted the chickens, he wanted the raptors of Doubtful, got it. But Klexo was like, wait a minute, I can punish you for this. I can live this long enough for Doubtful to come back in here. One more auto potentially from Castle, and it would have made it a 1-for-1 as Prank just kind of all-inning Proctor, and yeah, he's just gonna dip on out. Unfortunately, the empowered W from Udyr is still not enough to trade into Yorick.
He does have the Bramble Vest completed to try and counteract some of that healing, but it's going to be tough. And now Pranked just gets to kind of walk around with the Maiden of the Mist here, able to try and pick up some CS, get some more resources. He's going to be trying to be a big solo threat, taking care of business on his own. I wonder, with the Grubs in favor of Purdue Northwest, if this time around they split it in game number 1, 4-2, but I know a 6-0 split in their favor might be able to help change the tide of this series. They've got a slight gold lead. They're still a little ways away, but they're trying to push us to a game 3.
And because Prank pushed that lane in through that vision down onto the Grom, Purdue Northwest should know where Castle is or where he is around, but they're still going to go in for this.
Oh my gosh, dodging all the ultimates. Pluto avoids a lot of the damage. Toponer getting low. Castle, no flash, trying to find the spear point. And yes, Poner gets taken down. What a kill there from Castle, biding his time. And now look at the top side of the map. Doubtful knows it's his time to strike, invading, and he's going to be picking up some resources on the back half of that bot lane play.
He's going to pick up 3 whole camps here off of Castle's kind of staying in that bot side. And like I was going to praise them, they should know where Castle is because Prank did all the due diligence through the vision down onto the Gromp. He didn't see anybody there for a minute. He's definitely not pathing there, so he's probably just hanging around that bot side. I kind of wish Toponer didn't go on that engage and just wasted more of Castle's time. That would have been a really smart play from Purdue Northwest. But instead, they go in, they think they can kind of win this 2v2. It turns out it's a 3v2. Klexo still kind of farming in that mid lane, and Doubtful, yeah, you pick up 3 camps, you deny a lot of gold. But I mean, that's just so much going over once again into the favor of Castle. 2-1. He was more than happy to carry that early game in game 1, and we've been seeing him able to carry on this Inzal once again.
Grubs are spawning shortly. The junglers reset. And unfortunately for Castle, he's going into an empty jungle, whereas Doubtful is going to be able to pick up right where he left off on the top side of the map. Now, Pluto has come up as well, has that early roaming support priority, and it may lead into a play on the top side of the map. Pranked with his ultimate still out. He's dealing a lot of damage to Straight Proctor, but look at the shield, the turtle shell, keeping him safe as Pranked goes down.
Man.
GVU get a critical kill, but he does have teleport available, Shibby. Nightstar avoids trouble in the bot lane as Doubtful hunting. It's the mid-jungle duo of Purdue Northwest. They're striking with a flash click. They're making it look so easy. Beautifully played.
Yeah, just kind of the alley-oop for Purdue Northwest. I'm just surprised that Prank would take that fight knowing that the Grubs are up. I feel like you kind of back off a little bit, wait for your team to come. You can potentially go for that 6 Grub mark, but they're going to split 3-3 once again. Wind King, though, and Toponer were able to push out Pluto and Nightstar, specifically Pluto on that roam, left Nightstar to himself. So Wind King gets a lot of alone time with these turret plates, and now the flash engage.
Cleanse comes out of Wind King, an early summoner spell usage to try to avoid any trouble. Dragon is secured. The Cloud secured for Purdue Northwest. Even gold lead. A little bit more action in game number 2 here, as I think the teams are getting used to the pace that's being set by the opponent, trying to be a bit more risky. Purdue Northwest knows you gotta make some plays to stay in it. Klexo, completed item already. Wind King, completed item advantage as well. Nightstar and Jinqual a little behind at the moment, but I think all the players taking a bit of a deep breath. Shibby, we don't have too much to fight over at the moment. A lot of teams, they're just going to be thinking, let's just CS at the moment, don't need to force too much. But I think, again, both both teams, this is a big match for them. Purdue Northwest still sitting undefeated in the standings. They're trying to turn around after, I think, a bit of a disappointing last season, retooling their team. They got Pranked coming in as well as a graduate player, and they're looking really, really good. And that's why I think there's so much hype behind these two teams squaring off. It's two teams that could very well be at the end of the road come championship land time.
Yeah, I think this year in the MEC we're very blessed to kind of have so many good teams. As wow, a fail engage from Toponer, no flash available, was trying to catch Jincall sleeping with the minion, ruse, unable to. So that's a big engage tool that Purdue Northwest loses out on. Lucky there's not any big objectives on the map. Dragon isn't available. Neither of the Grubs nor Rift Herald is going to be up for another minute and a half. So, I mean, swing and a miss for Toponer, but you don't really lose much. Just your ultimate.
And those are, I think, the kind of plays they're going to be looking for during this sort of downtime. Jinqual able to use his abilities to back off, not be in too much trouble. Doubtful's been CSing, but honestly, kudos to Castle. Despite losing that CS on the top side of the map, he's hanging in there, much closer between the junglers, I think, in this one. Castle got up to a huge lead just out of nowhere on the Xinjiao in game number 1. I think Doubtful a little more used to how he wants to play the game here in this second match of the series. A lot of long swords being picked up for Castle here, locking in on the damage, but he's got a lot of health to go with it. All the carries have picked up their first items here, and so it's going to make contesting these objectives feel a lot more of a possibility, Shibby. They might be gearing up for some fighting.
Yeah, we haven't really seen too many big objective fights. Usually the fights or skirmishes kind of happen before the objectives come up, right? Prank in that top side right before the second set of Grubs. We saw another fight before that Dragon came up or was being ready to take it. Pluto almost catches Doubtful sleeping, but that's fine. They get the reset off. The Profane Hydra being completed for Prank. He's gonna go split pushing completely by his lonesome here. And right now, Purdue Northwest and Grandview both even gold states. They've hit their one item, right? Power spikes. We'll call it power spikes at the 14-minute mark. Both teams looking for a scrap.
One might present itself around this Rift Herald, Shibby, as the objective is started by Castle. Doubtful and Klexo are on the bottom side of the map. We might see a fight on two sides of the map. Frank's going to try to go for the 2v1. He's got a lot of damage with the Profane Hydra. Castle has to try and flash out. He's getting real low, and he gets the 1v1 kill as the bot lane goes down in response as well. GVU lose 3 members in total. It's a 3-for-1 in favor of Purdue Northwest as Strict Proctor. I don't know if he has enough damage. He's going to try and take down the Rift Herald as quickly as possible. Purdue Northwest, it's not looking like they're going to contest. Yeah, he's going to be able to do this.
Yeah, Grandview are going to be able to at least get a little bit of a consolation prize with that Rift Herald here, but losing 3 members, losing that bot lane tier 1 once again to Wind King. Looking in a pretty dire spot right now. It was even gold for them, but Purdue Northwest overload that bot side with 4 members and just kind of blow Grandview out the water. Both Pluto and Nightstar each tally a death for themselves there, and Jincall couldn't answer. Castle couldn't really do much because he was taking that Rift Herald, and Strict Proctor left to kind of pick up those pieces. Pluto?
Doubtful using the ultimate pretty early there. Trying to dish out a lot of damage. Jinqual not ready. Emperor's Divide not available. Jinqual able to walk away, not using any summoner spells, but Chibi, the second dragon of the game, is spawning up here shortly. Both top laners with teleport available. The objective spawns. Purdue Northwest, they have control of the river. Rift Herald might just be used here, but Strict Proctor is the one with the eye. He's up in top lane. They can't answer by dropping the Rift Herald in mid lane, and now Purdue Northwest with an opportunity to respond.
Doing it now.
Strict Proctors, he's a little late here. They're able to contest. Castle's going to try and drive the Tokyo Drift train into the tower. Looks like he's going to be able to succeed and pick up that much-needed gold for GVU.
Dragon for tier 1 turret. You'll take that trade, and it's the best you could do. That Rift Herald knocks down the mid tier 1, opens up the map a little bit more, but Nightstar in a bit of trouble. Now he's fine. Jet set radios out of there completely. Puts the roller skates on. He goes to Disco Night. That's all. That's what we know.
He's staying alive. Staying alive. That's all we're doing that for.
I thought you were gonna go high pitched. That would have came in with the backup vocals, but Pluto might need some backup from his friends here. He's gonna be able to walk it out. The tanky tree. Maokai still really good in that support role, right? Super blindable. Functions, as I said, both as an engage and a disengage, depending on how you use that ultimate. In this case, he might be that primary engage, could also be that follow-up for Castle here. I think it's really cool because you can kind of like stop Purdue Northwest in their tracks. If you see like Klexo diving in, or you see Doubtful kind of dashing in, you throw that ultimate down at the grasping roots, and it kind of just stops everybody in their place, and it allows Nightstar and Jinkall to get some more damage in. The root is super powerful, especially if Purdue Northwest aren't prepared for it, right? Typically, you just line up single file like you did in kindergarten, and you can kind of just only get one person hit. But if you're not prepared, that's a potentially 3, 4, 5-man root hitting all of Purdue Northwest for at least a second and a half, and that's going to give Grandview so much time here. They're opting to give those dragons away. I suspect they'll start contesting on third dragon here, but both of these teams are wrestling for vision control, just trying to fight for that neutral space in the river.
Pluto on the Maokai is going to help in that battle. He's got some sapling helpers to throw in bushes to sort of act as wards. Meanwhile, Strict Proctor is going to get caught in the wall, but is able to fight his way through it. He's got a lot of defense, as well as just, being very tanky. He's got the turtle shield. Pranked is going to have a tough time fighting through all that armor. Pranked, it will be interesting if he tries to, I think, move around, maybe go to different lanes. I think Klexo might have a little bit of an easier time going into the Udyr. Strict Proctor has a lot of armor at this point in the game. But Pranked, he's kind of away from his power spike. He's not quite there yet. Big shielding, though, it's a classic pool noodle fight. We'll kind of talk about something else. There's not a lot of go. I know the ultimate is there from Pranked, but it's just always there. It's kind of not much of an ultimate. That maiden's always around. It's nothing crazy. He's just going to waddle away. Strict Proctor's trying to take it down. We got action in the mid lane. Teleport coming in. I think we got to fight. Go away. There we go. Castle engaging, trying to fight. No, go away. Not the time. I know Strict Proctor's getting low. It's fake news. I don't believe it. Go like us. Let's in the fight. No, Jinquil's dealing so much damage, but no engage coming out, and that's where I think it's difficult for PNW. Toponer making a big play with Klexo. They found their engage there, taking down Nightstar. Jinquil not following. He gets caught by the flash insect. Doubtful. What a fight there from Purdue Northwest. Toponer comes up big.
What a massive flash pop blossom, catching out Nightstar, catching out Castle. Just beautiful follow-up from Klexo there, right? The scoot on in, Emperor's Divide kills everybody, and then Doubtful, just the cherry on top, the icing on the cake. Able to insect Jinkall out, just really, really beautifully well played. Uh-oh, Prank might be in a bit of trouble. This is not fake news, right, Mac?
We have reports coming in. There is indeed a death in the top lane. Prank once again struggling against his former team, 1-3 on the Yorick. We don't have word quite just yet from the coach if this is a troll pick, but Prank, got a lot of eyes on you. The news, the MEC chopper is coming up there in the top lane soon for some potential evacuation if it keeps going this way.
Yeah. Purdue Northwest, really explosive fight, though it feels like this gold lead hasn't really budged, right? It's 1 to 1.5 thousand. It's kind of been like that for a bit for Purdue Northwest, and although Grandview don't really want to fight right now because this Nightstar's area is not on their 2-item power spike, right? They need a little bit more gold before they're comfortable, so they might just have to give this dragon away simply because Purdue Northwest are on some crucial 2-item power spikes. Their jungler, their bottom laner, and their mid laner all ready to rumble.
The GVU still going to look for the
Castle?
engage, though. Castle
Oh.
knocks away to Poner beautifully. Pluto with the
Okay.
flank. This may be the fight they're looking for. Jinqual and Nightstar are safe. They're firing their way for the backline. GVU, they're
Whoa.
taking the fight. It don't matter, Shibby, if they're down 2 items. Nightstar's got a triple kill despite the fact. What an engage there from GVU.
I mean, the true hero Castle diving in, completely stuffing out the Pot Blossom, right? The ultimate from Xin Zhao knocks everybody out, displaces them, allows Grandview to pick and prod and pull
Wow.
Purdue Northwest back and forth here. And yeah, I mean, Pluto, massive ultimate, massive lockdown so that Purdue Northwest can't get away. And that's the Baron coming up after the Dragon.
way they go
yeah,
for
just
this.
let it rip. Why not?
No way.
I'm joking. Don't let it rip. Everybody on Purdue
Please.
Northwest is up. They'll be able to contest, and it could go horribly here. Prank kind of dutifully split pushing down. I don't think he should ever group. I'm going to be quite honest. I feel like you need Hullbreaker, or if you don't even need that, just don't group on this champion. You're best served knocking turrets down, leaving Strict Proctor to deal with you, or even Jin Call, because Grandview have a beautiful, beautiful team fight ready to go if they can get it off. And I feel like Prank just can't really contribute, right? He was completely fine in that top lane while Purdue Northwest won that 4v4 earlier.
Strict Proctor, I think his Udyr senses are tingling. Something is amidst in the jungle. He senses it. The hair starts sticking up all over the place. He's got a lot of hair for that very purpose. He's going to back away from the potential tower dive. Leaves it to rest. This is a 5v5 situation, Shibby, around the Baron. This is where games are potentially won. Purdue Northwest, though, they're going to back off just about as quickly as they start the objective.
Look at mid.
They've got the Azir, very fast at taking Baron. Prank with this build on Yorick, I think a pretty fast Baron tanker as well. But the minion wave, GVU, they're waiting for some reinforcements. Pranked heads down into the bot lane. Klexo, oh my gosh, Deponer gets caught out. He's trying to flash away, but he actually goes down. Nightstar's on a rampage. Shibby, that's a huge engage tool town. It's Deponer's flash ultimate, not there. PNW, they lose their support. Are they going to lose more?
And it's not even that he's dying a lot, but in game one, had a very crucial misstep on the Karma, baited his team a little bit. In this same scenario, right, another crucial misstep that allows Grandview to kind of take this Baron, and that's insane. 2 different picks in 2 different games has allowed Grandview to kind of take over. There's no way Purdue Northwest can get in. Doubtful is just kind of teetering back and forth.
Oh my gosh, the secure comes through. Castle gets the objective. Nightstar is diving into the fight. He does so much damage on the Zeri. Prank did not teleport in. He's staying true to his split pushing tactic. The turret goes down. Strict Proctor's going to try and answer, at least just clear the wave. Dragon is not spawning anytime soon.
Beefy boy.
GVU, they get the big objective. As we get more top lane fighting, I think Strict Proctor is going to end up coming up with the dub this time around.
Oh, yeah. The friends are here. The cavalry has arrived. But Strict Proctor, I'm pretty sure he had that in the bag. 1v1 Prank dies for the turret. Understands he can't do anything if he TPs into that anyways. So he's just able to get that tier 2 turret. A big paycheck for himself, right?
Yep.
700 gold in his pocket. Builds that Black Cleaver, which did get recently buffed. Only takes 5 stacks to get the full 25% armor shred. It's really, really good now. Yeah, I called it like earlier. I was like, this item's kind of crazy now, guys. We'll see how it functions in that 1v1 side lane. Frank just sold his Sheen, by the way. He had it in his inventory, opted in instead
Don't
for
need
the
it.
Executioner's Calling. Doesn't want it. Isn't going to go into what is most likely what was going to be a Triforce. But Purdue Northwest, definitely on the back foot, right? It feels like Grandview have just set up some really nice trap plays across the map with their vision control, catching out Japoner, baiting Purdue Northwest into these uneven fights and saying, you've got to do something about this, or we're just going to win the game outright through objective control. They bait the fight. They get the Baron. Very, very well played. Dragon's coming up in a minute, and uh-oh, that's a long stick.
Japoner is going down in the jungle. He gets caught out once again in Castle Xin Zhao. continues to be a playmaker. Klexo looking for the Emperor's Divide there, but Jin Qual able to flash away from it. And look, mid lane, there are 2 members of Purdue Northwest trying to make a play on the top side of the map, but their base is under siege.
Yeah, and you talked about it earlier too, right? The castle Xin Zhao is just different. It's built differently. It's comprised kind of conspicuously, and it's so good. And it's crazy how he's able to get this so many games in a row, right? I feel like it's been banned against him, but he's just able to pick it up. Is doubtful. He goes in. He should be fine here, but Castle's
going in. Oh my gosh, they're all crazy. Dragon's Rage used. The Azir turret goes up in a potential pick here onto Strict Proctor. Nightstar dashing into the backline. He's looking for Wind King. He takes down the fellow 80s. He's got godlike, but he's got in too far. The god flies too close to the sun once more, but he's Jin Qual with some more damage. It's a lot of onto Prank, and he goes down as well. The Azir turret still available. Castle diving in deeper. GVU, they don't know when to stop. They've lost 3 members and only have taken down 2. Shibby, when is it enough? Jin Qual looking for more. Doubtful still making plays. Klexo still here. No ultimate available. Pluto goes down as well, and Purdue Northwest, they got an ace.
They get an ace off an overzealous Grandview. They don't want to pick up the pieces, take the dragon. Instead, they go for kills more and more. They're trying to salvage some sort of play, but end up giving a whole ton of gold over to Purdue Northwest. Still down about 3,000 here, but Prank, I believe, picked up 1,000 gold shutdown. Lexo picked up some gold, and I think Deponer even picked up 2 kills there. Not a good look for Grandview. I feel like this team that's normally very controlled, normally very methodical, just kind of had of an int moment.
Yeah, they were trying to take advantage of the Baron power play across a multitude of different lanes. And, I mean, Nightstar we saw flashing in to try and take down Wind King. Might have been a little over-aggressive. They still got a slight gold lead, but in terms of key difference makers in this game, GVU, it's a window of opportunity you might not want to give to PNW. It's going to make this game a little bit closer as we approach the next Baron in 100 seconds.
And right now, GVU seem to be able to dominate these 5v5s as long as they're not diving under tier 3, right under tier 2, just looking to kind of take a bunch of damage from that Azir turret. They do just win these fights outright, and I love the fact that Nightstar, I know we're going to harp on him a little bit for flashing in, but he flashed it on Wind King and got the kill, right? Like, he's doing what he needs to do on this Zeri, right? He needs to kill down. There's realistically only 2 carry threats for Purdue Northwest. It's Wind King on the Smolder, and it's Klexo on the Azir. And Smolder right now, at that execution passive, he should be #1 priority, right? So if you trade your life 1 for 1, you can be confident that Jin Qual, Castle, Proctor can put out the damage, as we saw this way, just absolutely nuking members of Purdue Northwest.
Yep, GVU trying to set up the side lanes before the next objectives. Purdue Northwest going to send their solo laners with teleport to respond. Jin Qual does not have teleport on the way, but he's on the right side of the map. He's going to try and stop top lane from pushing. Baron in 30 seconds, Shibby, and it starts to settle in for a lot of these players on the Rift. Items are about the same. Mid laners 3 items, junglers 3 items, top laners 3 items. Nightstar, a key difference maker here for GVU. He's going to be the carry threat to keep our eye on.
Yeah, a lot of that gold sequestered onto Nightstar here for GVU. If he goes down, Grandview struggle just a little bit. I believe in Jin Qual. I still know he can do the damage. He's working on that last, or that 4th item here, that pen item, the Blighted Jewel. Most likely going to be that Crypt Bloom, which is just so good right now that Klexo has in his back pocket. But neither team willing to kind of put their best foot forward. We just see Grandview giving away vision control onto this Baron. They've got 1 ward, a sapling, and that's about it. Purdue Northwest could take this dragon or Baron relatively quickly. Klexo and Smolder, or Klexo and Wind King, do a lot of damage.
Should be something critical to consider for Purdue Northwest. In 2 minutes, a potential Mountain Soul spawns out onto the map and makes the decision-making process for for Grandview a lot
them.
more difficult. GVU, though, they're bold. They're no strangers to Bear and Nasher and trying to pick it up in tight situations. They're going to go for it before the Dragon spawns
And they
out
force
onto the
Prank
Rift.
to
If
be-
they get Bear in here, they get a lot of space to breathe in this one. They don't have to worry about that Dragon decision, and Jinqual dealing so much damage from far away. Baron, a lower than 50% HP. Doubtful, looking for his way in. He does not have Flash, but he has a lot of dashes. Pluto's getting low. Smolder ultimate misses. Baron secured.
Oh!
Nightstar gets it with the help
Look at
of
Prank!
Castle. A lot of low health bars. Pranked pushing into Poner, getting low. He's shut down. Jinqual from a mile away gets the kill, but Castle goes down in response. Strict Proctor has teleported on in to try and stop Pranked, but it's a lot of damage. Black Cleaver, baby, your armor's getting shredded faster than before. Trick Proctor's got to be careful here, going in, continuing the fight, but they want to lock down Pranked before the next Dragon spawns, and I think they're going to be able to get him. GVU, a dramatic swing in their favor. They secure the objective, and they get some breathing room ahead of this next drag.
GVU do not get Baron without losing a little bit here. That base cracked open in that bot side. Another turret going over into the favor of Purdue Northwest, and specifically turret gold going into the favor of Prank here on this Yorick, who I said just should not be grouping with his team and has taken that to heart, and I love it, right? Forcing Grandview to make tough decisions. They ripped the Baron. They're able to get it, although it was a little dicey since Nightstar secured it. But Dragon coming up in 20 seconds. Mountain Soul, like you mentioned, for Purdue Northwest could do wonders for this team. But I don't think they're in a position to even take this. Look at the vision control coming out from Grandview.
Huge bot lane wave might just be forfeited by GVU in favor of securing this next Dragon. Nobody is just going to go into Prank's waiting arms. He is so excited. I know there's nothing better. Jinqual is actually going to be able to empower it with Baron minions and to make it a little bit harder. I mean, Shibby, it is a massive wave as the Dragon gets secured. Klexo tries to defend his base with a special little Azir turret. Pranked getting really low. Jinqual just doing so much damage from far range.
Yeah, this way having so much impact, both in game 1 and game 2.
Three
Jinqual seems
cannons.
to have mastered. Yeah, I mean, triple cannons just sieging in. That's rough. It'll eventually take the tier 3 down
no
here.
way! No! With the play! He finds Jinqual with the insec! And some masterful maneuvers get him critical pick.
What an insect, right? Able to kind of home in onto Jinqual here and catches him with his pants down, catches him sleeping on the wheel. Yeah, you've broken open the base if you're Grandview, but you've lost one of your key damage dealers, the guy that can kind of stave off Purdue Northwest, and now there's no mage for Grandview for another 30 seconds. Do get the Dragon here as they stop that, but just an insane kick from Doubtful.
Wow. This, when we think about the Friday night showdown, this morning, I woke up, I was suit ready, straight out of bed to start the day, and this is what I was waiting for. This is Purdue Northwest versus GVU. This is such a close second game. It can go anybody's way. GVU with a slight lead, but plays like that. A pick here changes the game very dramatically, so this one's going to come down to the wire. Already there's been 2 Barons, right? And still teams, it feels like they're far away from the Mountain Soul, even though Purdue Northwest is on Soul Point. Oh my goodness, Shibby. This is where it comes down to the nitty-gritty details, and this is where some players get to make highlight moments.
There's been 2 Barons, 5 Dragons, 6 Grubs, 1 Rift Herald, and 37 kills across 35 minutes. And it's just been a back and forth between Grandview and Purdue Northwest. And Purdue Northwest do not want to go down without a fight. And Doubtful making sure that just a beautiful kick from him to kind of stop the pushing power. And they've been really good at just kind of preventing these Baron power plays. Yes, Grandview got in their way a little bit on the first one by kind of overcommitting in that mid lane, but that second one was all the Doubtful show and has staved it off just a little bit and has allowed Purdue Northwest and specifically Winking to pick up more CS here, more stacks on his passive to increase the execute amount. the more stacks you get, I believe it's 60 after 225, increases the execute percentage threshold by 1% every 60 stacks. Mac, that is crazy. If this keeps going on longer, Winkin could start executing people at quarter health bar.
It scales infinitely. Infinite power!
All
Or
right,
Purdue
Palpatine.
Northwest and Wind King. I know, right? It's about that late game. It's the end game, right? Oh my gosh, potential fighting on the top side of the map. Doubtful with the kick available. Here's Emperor's Divide catching two
Watch
into
the
the plot
polar!
blossom. It is the tanks. Nightstar is still safe here. He's firing away,
Watch
trying to
Nightstar.
take down Wind King, dishing
Oh
out a
my
lot
God!
of damage. Wind King has arrived! Infinite power, Shibby, as he's looking for another Nightstar. Takes him down, but not before destruction has been wrought by Purdue Northwest. The ADC coming in. Wind King making his name known in this series. What a fight from Purdue Northwest.
I mean, that execute you just saw absolutely melted Castle and Pluto. Strict Proctor was alive for just a little bit longer, but it feels like Wind King has scaled, right? He has gotten to the party. This lead that Nightstar had, this 5-item Zeri full build is just not enough. Wind King can still get stronger, Mac. He's still an item down, right? He's only got the BF sword. I can't imagine when he hits full build, how are they going to get onto this? Because Nightstar is giving his life away to kill him, but nobody else can pick up the pieces here in Purdue Northwest. Off of that team fight win, will pick up this Baron right on spawn, and Grandview have to hightail it towards this dragon, wrestle as much vision as they can so they can prevent Purdue Northwest from getting this mountain soul here. And I feel like in a world maybe 6 more minutes or 5 more minutes down after this dragon, maybe Grandview with mountain soul with the shield can weather the Wind King storm.
It's looking like, I mean, it's a category 4 right now. and as we mentioned, it's scaling up, it's gathering strength. We've got a huge warm air front of the late game coming in and strengthening Wind King up. They've got Baron, they've got the dragon in their sights. Here we go, Shibby.
Oh,
The
they
fight for the
shred
dragon
this.
soul continues.
Look.
And Doubtful is just going to be able to secure it. Mountain soul for Purdue Northwest has been secured. Pluto trying to look for the flank, but he's coming up short. He can't find the right ultimate. Nightstar has to play back. Now it's Klexo with the 2-man ultimate, finding the tanks once more. Castle
Klexo's
trying to
down?
stay alive. Klexo, the Azir, the Emperor has fallen.
dead.
Doubtful follows as well. Wind King fell in that
No.
as well. And Shibby, is this gonna be it? Death timers are long. We're 38 minutes. The ultimate comes out. Boner is the target. Nightstar is hanging in there. It is Pranked versus the world. Prank versus his former team in the base defense moment of a lifetime. Nightstar shoving the wave in, trying to get
He could
the
go for the end.
reinforcements into the base. Klexo 30 seconds, Wind
Oh my
King 30
God.
seconds, Baron empowered, Yorick Mori. Prank, can he stop his former teammates from ending the series here? It's a lot of damage to
Poner goes
Poner.
down.
Falls. Nightstar still alive. He's focusing
No.
the turrets. Goodbye, my former master. I'm sorry, Sensei. It's not personal. It's just business. They're looking for the end. Wind King is coming up. 2, 3, 1 more second, and it just is too late. Grandview sweep the series and take down Purdue Northwest.
And Grandview University heard Purdue Northwest talking and absolutely shut them up with
Wow.
that win. It jet sets them forward to 4-1. Purdue Northwest go down 3-1, and we can legitimately have a 3-way tie for second place here. Bonkers from Grandview University here, and like you said, Mac, in an ice cold
Wow.
line, it's not personal, it's just business. It's just what it was.
What a series. I think we all need a breath after that finish. It could have gone either way. Purdue, they get the Mountain Soul and they lose the ensuing fight, Shibby, with Baron. Oh my gosh. I feel like I need to watch that last one in slow-mo. Kind of take
looks so
note
good.
of It was crazy. I can't
Looked
believe
so
GVU
good for Purdue
figured that one
Northwest.
out. Yeah, right?
Klexo got a nice 2-man scoop, right? We saw the pop blossom come in, but Klexo, after the scoop, just wasn't able to get out most of his abilities. He died. And then Castle on the back end, able to clean Win King up. That was the win condition, right? That was your late game insurance. And unfortunately, Purdue Northwest, you missed a couple payments. Collections came. GVU broke some knees and broke some ankles and were able to pick up that kill. 2-0.
Wow. I need a moment. I think we all kind of collectively do that. That Friday night showdown lived up to the hype. We're going to have a post-game interview coming up shortly. Before we hop into that break, Shibby, there's a lot that goes into running an esports event like MEC. We saw some of the LAN events, what we got going on. MEC Clash a few weeks ago. The MEC Championship coming up in a very short amount of time. It's coming soon. The regular season's almost over. You know, one of the most important aspects when it comes to setting up events like this is setting the scope of your event, like setting your goals and balancing your profit with expectations. If you want to learn more about the scope of an esports event, type !top 5 in the Twitch chat and check out our article, What It Takes, Top 5 Things Powering Esports Events. We're going to be back very shortly with a post-game interview from one of GVU's players to talk about the huge Friday night victory in just a sec. Don't click anywhere. We'll be right back. Hello everyone, and welcome back to our continuing coverage of the Midwest Esports Conference 2024 CLOL season. I am joined with, some would kind of say it's a bit of a layup, but I'll say it anyway, the star of the show here tonight, Mr. ADC from Grandview, Nightstar. Thank you so much for joining us for the post-game interview.
Thank you for having me.
I want to start it off because I was a little suspect on in your drafts, just a little bit. Can you talk me through that Kog'Maw into their team composition? Was that something you asked for, or was that something that Dreyer and you were kind of having a conversation with? Did you think it was a good Kog'Maw angle? Like Ezreal, Karma, Kog'Maw, Rakan in the bot lane. They had Azir, they had Olaf, they had Viego. Like I felt like that was gonna be a tough game for you, but you just managed to outspace them. Was that always the plan, or was it kind of just a little bit of, hey, I'm just better than them?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm just better than them. But that Cog was definitely my pick. Usually we don't go for these type of champions, but I felt like the lane's hard, sure. But as Kog'Maw, once I buy like Wet Sand, Rage Blade, all these items, I'm untouchable basically. As long as I don't lose the first 5 levels, the game's over, I think. Like I had no doubts that I could win that game from level 5 basically, because the Karma and Ezreal played pretty subpar.
So thinking about getting into the right mindset for this week, headed into a big match, Nightstar, what was the mindset for the team after losing to ONU over the past weekend? going into what I'll say a special matchup. I feel like every time we've been talking with you guys after, it's been, who are you guys looking forward to? We want to beat Pranked. So what was it like heading into this match today?
A lot of nervousness because we thought this would probably be the hardest match we'd play. For me, it's kind of this. I treated it the same as like any other match. I didn't really like. I didn't even know anyone on this team besides Prank, nor did I like scout or anything. It's just another match, I guess.
Just another match, and so it seems like you don't really pay attention to all the narratives. But I definitely think I'm a big perpetuator in some stuff. I guys looked a little bit weaker. I was kind of doubting you a little bit. Did you ever feel that, like, from anybody else? Was Dreyer kind of using that as fuel for you guys a little bit to, like, kind of like, hey, they think you guys suck, they don't think you're that good? Like, can you kind of walk me through that?
Not so much that we suck, we just have to step it up. And like, we had a pretty good talk, like a heart to heart. I guess yesterday's scrim. So everyone was able to just be more confident going into the matches. I was more confident picking the champs I wanted, the things I'm good at. Because for a while we weren't picking the champs that I am basically the best at.
Yeah.
Because we hyper prioritized champs like Misfortune, Varus, all these champs, which I'm good at, right? But that's not my best thing.
Yeah.
So being comfortable made us just win this pretty easily.
Yeah.
Well, we talked,
100%.
I think, a little bit, Shibby, about, you know, we've seen this from the GVU squad before, making kind of adaptations as the season goes on, learning from the mistakes and stuff. Nightstar, in those moments for you with the team, who do you think kind of shines the most in bringing y'all together to come together with a cohesive effort like we saw tonight?
Honestly, I think probably the coach. He's definitely been the glue for the team and trying to change, and he was the one who like put in the change for our team that made us play better today. So I think I'd probably give it to him. And then everyone's just been more willing to do what's good for the team. So I think it's also just everyone as well. It's been a little shaky, but I think we're definitely pretty good now. I don't think the games today were very hard at all.
Well, hey, we like where the season's been going, you know. Big love from us in the casting booth as always to all the squads competing, but glad to see you guys, you know, kind of fight through some adversity your way in the middle of the season, coming out with a dub here tonight on Max dub of the Friday night MEC showdown. So Nightstar, before we let you go, do you want to give out any shout outs?
I think shout outs to Hyper. I always like giving Hyper shout outs. He always makes me laugh. And then like every interaction with him makes me laugh. And shout outs to my team, of course, and friends.
Well, thank you so much, Nightstar, for joining us for the post-game interview. We want to wish you the best of luck as you guys tackle the rest of the MEC season. So excited to hopefully see more of you guys, and wishing you the best for the rest of the road.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Alrighty, Shivy, it's going to do it for game number 1. But we've got a special situation here on this lovely Friday night. We got more MEC League of Legends action coming up your way. Purdue Northwest, they may have gotten taken down here by GVU, but there's more League of Legends action to be had. They take on Cleveland State next. Don't click out of that browser. We'll be back with our second Friday night series in just a little bit.
So first question, the getting to do lanes like this is obviously super fun and exciting, but what do you personally look forward to whenever you have an offline event on the schedule?
I like, or can you repeat the question?
Yeah, no, you're good. So offline events are pretty unique. Like MEC does them, and what gets you like super excited about coming to a LAN like this?
So I think it's cool. Like I love seeing what all the other people look like. just like know how I'm playing against.
Yeah, yeah.
I like hanging out with my teammates, like outside of playing games and stuff, and just like coming to like a different area like Chicago.
Yeah.
With your team, like it's pretty cool because most of the lands that we end up going to are just down Columbus.
Super local.
So so it's nice to get out somewhere.
Nice. Well, second question. We made a few calls. All right, we got you in on the Riot Dev team, and you were in charge of bringing in the next League of Legends champion. Could be from any IP. Could be anybody in real life. Literally anything. Who are you bringing in first?
I think Donald Trump would be a pretty cool champion, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, just as polarizing as like pretty much every League of Legends champion already, so it's not even like a big deal. I feel like there's already so many like custom skins.
Yeah, there'd be some pretty cool skins. Yeah.
And then final question of anybody on your team, who is most likely to go viral and why? For better or for worse?
I'd say play Adam. I'm in under shoes because like he's very like outgoing and like he could get like pretty excited at some moments. Yeah. Okay. So like I think he could definitely do something crazy.
There you go. All right. Well, I appreciate you. Thanks for the interview.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our continuing coverage of the Midwest Esports Conference 2024 CLOL season. Shibby, we are getting ready to go for our second series of the night. My name's Mac Dewey. Still, thank you for joining us. It's Purdue Northwest once again. They are returning to the Rift, Shibby, to take on a new challenger that has approached Cleveland State University.
Yeah, Purdue Northwest with the double-header matchup, and it's kind of rough because feels a little bit like Cleveland State. I mean, they definitely have a chance, right? They just lost, right? Purdue Northwest lost a crazy series to GVU. You can kind of, for lack of a better term, kick them while they're down, right? Salt in the wound, whatever you want to say. Cleveland State can take advantage of Purdue Northwest and kind of have a really good draft going into it, have a game plan, and can kind of catch Purdue Northwest off guard here. Or Mac could be the complete opposite. Purdue Northwest could be coming back with a vengeance and just looking to kind of pick up a pick-me-up win here.
You know, in Smash Bros, when you see the person you just killed come drop immediately down from the stage and start gunning for you with invulnerability.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried that's what we're going to see from Purdue Northwest. They didn't look out of sorts in game number 2 like we saw in game number 1, but let's take a look at the players. If you're a little familiar with PNW, we just saw some of these guys. Prank in the top lane, Doubtful in jungle, Klexo rounds out the mid lane, in Wind King plus Toponer makes up the PNW bot lane.
Yeah, and on Cleveland State side, we've got Jason in the top lane, Kaizix in the jungle, Shoes in the mid lane, and Scrub, McLord, and Aqualad rounding out that bot lane support duo. And for Cleveland State, I think they're a team that, despite being winless, despite being 0-5, have some bright spots, right? Scrub, McLord, I feel like can carry the game if put in the right situations, right? Shoes as well, has a lot of cool mid lane picks. I just feel like they haven't brought everything together, right? And this is their first season competing in the MEC, and we talked about them having a very, very rude kind of first couple weeks. They had to go against GVU, they had to go against some of the better teams. It's rough because now you're 5 weeks in, and like you mentioned, might be able to affect some of their seeding, right? They can potentially jump to that 6th spot if Briarcliff drops a couple games. Jury, like that bottom 4, despite how we view these teams and despite what the standings are, still very competitive, still able to mix it up in the standings here. There is a clear divide, I think, between the top 4 teams and the bottom 4, but I think both very, very competitive in their own right. And if Cleveland State can pick up a big win here while Purdue Northwest is fresh off of a loss, that would just do so much for them, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, as you kind of mentioned, Scrub McLord, the bright spot for this CSU team here, and he's known to receive a lot of bans as we get into game number 1 draft. Expect a lot of ADCs to pop in. His Callista, his Draven, and even Lucian has been starting to pop up a little bit. So it's been, I think, hard for Scrub to find some of his comfort in the bot lane here, as we've kind of seen how the first few weeks of the season have unfolded.
Yeah, and I think Purdue Northwest are going to come into this with similar strategies, right? It's hard when you have these doubleheader games or these double-decker games that you come in with 2 completely different compositions or 2 completely different strategies. For Purdue Northwest, I think they just kind of need to fall back on what they're strong on, right? Doubtful Klexo, strong mid 2v2s, maybe run the Nico Nocturne yourself for your squad here. I don't think I'm the biggest fan of like this Azir Lee Sin or the Azir Viego, stuff like that. I feel like you kind of remove some of Klexo's biggest strengths when you put him on that champion. I feel like I want to see Doubtful and Klexo move around the map, use their strength, dominate the mid 2v2, and use that to affect the rest of the Summoner's Rift, right? Help Prank out, help Wind King and Toponer, grab some early objectives. I think they've been a little sloppy today on their objective control as well, right? I mean, they got the dragon, but they ended up trying to take a fight, losing the game. And Mac, your marker is back out onto the board here. Cleveland State give over a huge power pick to Purdue Northwest, and I want to say this right now, Cleveland State is not GVU. I don't know if they could beat Purdue Northwest on Karma.
And are they going to maybe learn from the GVU series a little bit? A big question for me, Shibby, coming into the series is, who are they going to put Prank on? Because the Yorick and the Olaf felt a little uncharacteristic.
Let's
we
go.
do see a champion we talked about on the pod, someone I know Shibby is excited about, the Bear.
Travi.
The Bear has entered the jungle.
Really, really, really fun champion. I've been waiting for that champion to get buffed. The man has been put in the dumpster for a while because of how volatile he is, right? I mean, just the ability to turn off turrets, the dive potential, his trading pattern, it's really, really crazy. And he did get quite a new number of buffs here, right? The bonus moon speed on the Q, insane, gets a little bit lower cooldown on the E, the Sky Splitter, and it's just kind of got buffs across the board here. And I want to see what Cleveland State are going to do with this Volley Bear. How are they going to be able to kind of dive and set up dives with lane prio? Because right now, Purdue Northwest have both Udyr and Varus, 2 champions that can just immediately take over lane priority and shove CSU in and not really allow this Volley Bear to do what he wants.
Shibby, is this the most Season 14 composition that we've seen from PNW? This feels about as on-the-nose meta as you could possibly get.
Where's the Azir?
Where's the Azir, right? Where's like Nocturne or Xin Zhao in the jungle or something? PNW not reinventing the wheel here, but going to what they've been comfortable on to start the season. They're going back to the foundationals, right? some of the fundamentals here. Prank probably going to be getting that Udyr up in the top lane. It's likely going to be, what do you think, Shibby? Zach up in top, or is the new buffed Volibear going up there?
I think depending on what Jason wants to pick, I think Zach has a bit of a better time. High base damage. You have to play the blob mini game against him, right? If you start picking them up, he can really start kind of swinging the extended fights to his favor. I think Kaizik's on this Volibear. You still get all the good benefits, right? The Q bonus movement speed is beautiful for jungle. The lower cooldown on the E allows you to kind of take that onto camps, increases the clear speed just a tad, and also just that ultimate, right? Lower cooldown fundamentally allows him to kind of get more turret dives off, allows him to do more, potentially gets one more ultimate off prior to laning phase being over. So I think in the jungle, Volibear should be fine here and really benefits from the buffs given to him in this latest patch here. But we are rounding out the bans. Corki, Hui taken off the board. Purdue Northwest as well. Maokai, Rakan. A lot of engage heavy supports have been removed. You still have, I believe, Rel on the table here. And it's really good because Renata is not available. Purdue Northwest have banned that out. One of the big kind of tank champion counters, right? Nautilus being taken away as well. I would love to see this, but this is actually a double scaling composition. I was going to talk about shoes on the Smolder here in the mid lane. I think we've seen it from him before. I think he's able to get some really good stacking potential on that. And this is a very late game heavy composition with a big front line. The concern for me is this Purdue Northwest just roll over this early game so far that CSU are down 6,000 gold at 14 minutes.
Really interesting decisions, and the Tristana Xin Zhao is locked in. Shibby, talk about rolling the early game. Tristana and Xin Zhao, some of the best to do it. Shibby, you talked about this in game 1 of GVU versus PNW. What do you pair with the Morgana? This time it's CSU with the decision. They have the support red 5 counter pick and the El Clasico, the Juggernaut origin, the reason for a lot of terror way back in the day. Lulu Kog'Maw gets locked in, and here are the compositions laid out on your screen. Notably, for me, Shibby, on the side of Cleveland State, Jason on this Zach pick in the top lane was doing some work last week. I'm talking getting solo kills, getting ahead in lane, and being a real point of power for the squad. So for Prank, who's been having kind of an off night, we'll have to see if he can respond here against CSU.
Yeah, and Ardent Sensor value is going to go crazy for the Lulu here, right? You have two big late game carries. Will be interesting to see if Shoes ends up going that like Leandry, Spear of Sojin, Riftmaker build that we've been seeing. Still pretty good, right? Despite some of the changes that came to Smolder in this latest patch. I'm just worried for CSU. How do they even get to the mid to late game, right? Because Purdue Northwest, from top to bottom, 1 through 5, have all the right pieces to just smash your face in the early game and just take the early game to Cleveland State. Tristana Xin Zhao is a very strong mid 2v2, much stronger than the Volibear Smolder that we see in Purdue Northwest. I think they're just going to stomp this early game into the dust right now.
Summoners, welcome onto the Rift for our second showdown here on this gorgeous Friday night. Welcome to some more Friday night MEC. Purdue Northwest are back to redeem themselves. Cleveland State looking for their first series win of the season. Let's see if they can make it happen. Shibby, as you mentioned, Klexo and Doubtful. We didn't see a lot of their early game prowess in the series against GVU, but as you mentioned before, they might be back with a vengeance here on Friday night.
Yeah, Purdue Northwest could be red in the eyes, could be seething after that loss here. You're one of two teams, right? You're either down in the dumps after your game or series 1 loss, and you're kind of just rolling through the motions, hoping to kind of get this day over with, or you're quite the opposite, and you just want to stomp something into this. The next team you see, you want to make sure that they never have the will to play League of Legends again. And unfortunately, Cleveland State will be that opponent potentially for Purdue Northwest here, as we see some cheekiness in that bot lane. Cleveland State actually end up losing that trade, I would say, because of how much damage that Mantra Q did. The heal comes out from Wind King, though, so Summoner Spell positive for Cleveland State here, but health looking a little sus.
Just a little bit. I wonder... Oh my gosh. Oh, we both had... I love how in sync we are at this point, where it's double OMGs from both of us. The damage, we've seen it. I've got 8 tallies on my whiteboard. We know what to expect at this point, but the karma damage is still surprising every time I see it. Klexo going underneath the turret. Shu's forced to flash away. Klexo actually takes 2 turret shots there, getting quite low as Shu's starts chugging those health potions like it's Estus Flax against a Dark Souls boss. He's trying to get healed up as quick as possible.
He is chugging it faster than possible here. As now Prank has that
I'm telling you,
ability.
The Jason Zack.
Hey, it hurts! But Prank has yet to use the empowered ability, so he just used it now here. I think he used the empowered W to kind of get it. But yeah, those high base damages from Zack kind of makes him a really strong top laner. And we know Prank is prone to just die, but a dive?
First blood for Doubtful. Make it a second blood. Maybe one more arrow going to be charging up. Jason's looking very low. Aqualad, it's a big wave to try and slow down. One more arrow from downtown is not going to be able to quite finish him off. Kha'Zix is roaming down here to try and interrupt the back, but I think it's a little too late. Scrub McLord has 0 CS Shibby at the 3-minute mark. As Jason going low, he's trying to get the blobs. He's taking a lot of minion damage, though. Oh, Pranked is going to get taken down again! Jason with a solo kill.
Oh, man. Prank just got to get the int out of him once every game here. It's rough, man.
Let him cook. He's laying down the analysis. He's got a psychic little crystal ball on point here. As Purdue Northwest, they succeed in the bot lane dive, but things go a little south in the top lane for Pranked. Flash from Shoes. Flash from Klexo getting flashed on now by Kha'Zix. Press the attack. Volley Bear damage is coming out. CSU, I love their early game aggression, but it comes down to the details, and unfortunately, Kha'Zix not enough damage to take down Klexo.
And Prank here might end up dying again. Jason, unfazed with the ultimate or the empowered cryo stance coming out from Prank here. I mean, it's just insane how tanky this champion is. Zack has so much healing, and you can't even deny the blobs because it falls so favorably to him, right? Like, it just doesn't really allow Prank to kind of play that mini game, really, especially when they're so pushed in. And so Wind King on this bottom side should be able to pick up these minions. But yeah, I feel bad for Prank. Zack is not a fun champion to go against, as we see small gold leads across the board. Despite the kills being traded 1-for-1, Purdue Northwest just kind of out-handsing Cleveland State right now.
Oh, Pranked has that empowered ability from the Udyr. He's waiting for the right time to use it. I didn't quite see there what he used it on there. Ultimate from Jason. He's looking for another, getting so much healing, so much value, and another solo kill. Oh my goodness. Shibby, I have a lot of theoretical bingo cards. I think this one might be the most wild. I did not have on my bingo card this week Prank getting solo killed all over the place, and Jason Zack being 2-0 here, and all this Kog'Maw action. Let's see if it can work out here in game number 2. Kha'Zix going to be picking up Grubs.
Yeah, Scrubberglord trying to take a page out of Nightstar's book here, right? Just be like, you know what? I didn't feel pressured. They didn't play that lane that well, but Doubtful not allowing the same things to happen here. Look at this, just re-diving them. Volibear is nowhere in sight, and we also see Klexo coming down to 4v2. Scrub McLord!
Oh, he didn't stand a chance. Ignite Oh, he's trying to run after Doubtful, but I don't think the Pogma is able to chase down and pick up the kill. Aqualad, I think, next to follow with Klexo's damage. It's going to be enough. Cleveland State winning on the top side of the map, but bot lane is being left up completely open, and PNW are taking advantage.
I like how Prank is just there, like mindlessly feeding. As I say that, though, is able to pick up the blob kill. Is he going to get the solo bolo?
Oh, he's back. Don't count him out. The elastic slingshot. Oh, it shoots with the W from over the wall. Says, thank you very much, sir. You know, it's about the team play. Getting your teammates fed like that.
Calculated. Jason calculated that. He said, I know you're not going to be able to kill me here. Look at Frank's itemization as well. He's got tier. He's got an Oblivion Orb. He's just trying desperately to, like, how do I contain this abomination in the top side here? Jason just trying his best right now to kind of salvage what's happening for Cleveland State, because the bot side is not looking good. Winking is on lethality Varus as well, and there's no, you know, real true kind of front line, I would say, right now for Cleveland State. They have to wait until 15, 20 minutes into the game before they can really start kind of allowing this Smolder, allowing this Kog'Maw to kind of cook. But for right now, Cleveland State's bot lane, Scrub Lord and Aqualad are just going to have to take these piercing arrows to the face time and time again, and it hurts. It's lethality Varus.
And the scary thing as well, Scrub McLord down 2 levels on the Kog'Maw. We heard Nightstar during the interview talk about, hey, if I get through the first 5 levels, okay, game is over. It is a different situation as Jason, once again, is not going to be slowed down by the Oblivion Orb. He flash kills. Jason's on a killing spree. But look at the rest of the map. It is in shambles, Shibby, as Klexo pounces on, rocket jumps in, and gets another kill.
I love how Jason is just dominating this top side. He glances over to the rest of his team, Summoner's Rift, and he's like, oh, everything's on fire. Everything's blowing up. Oh, wait, the city's underwater. Oh, wait, another explosion. Typhoons, tornadoes. Yeah, I feel bad for Jason right now.
Oh my gosh, Shoes gonna flash away from the Karma root, but it's a lot of damage. Ultimate Klexo not gonna get taken super low by it. And CSU should be, they try to make a play happen in the mid lane. Shoes does survive. He's forced to use his summoner spell, and I'm a little worried with how the rest of the map is going so decisively in favor of Purdue Northwest. It's a tough task for Cleveland State to ask Jason to carry this one.
Especially on a champion like Zach, right? Like, we talked about high base damages, but fundamentally, he's still a tank, right? And it's a double 80 carry composition coming out from Purdue Northwest. They're going to shred him. Eventually, they're just going to do so much damage. Klexo specifically will just be able to kind of whittle Jason down as he gets armor pen, as he most likely builds towards that Kraken Slayer. Klexo is just going to do so much work, and Wind King just has to worry about Shoes and Scrub McLord. He's been on point with these piercing arrows. We see how much damage he's able to output. Come these team fights, come these objectives.
Oh,
it's going to be rough for Cleveland State. Oh. And here we are. Klexo just jumps out.
Oh, I got too excited. I want Jason to make those plays. I want to see the Zac in full force here, but look at the lethality Varus. Wind King is level 8, Shibby. 8 compared to Scrub McLord's level 4. This is a bot lane domination work from Purdue Northwest. And even, I mean, compared to Prank, who's still getting solo XP, who's getting killed, yes, but relatively close in CS, Kaizik's going to try and help the rest of the squad here. They don't have to worry about grubs, but it's a big arrow. Aqualad goes down from the Chain of Corruption. Kaizik's trying to get in. He does have the ultimate, but he's not going to use it. And Klexo from the mid lane is roaming down as well, and he might be able to jump on in and say, thank you, sir. The Stormbringer has been dissipated. Klexo goes on a killing spree, and Scrub McLord has nowhere to run. Another kill. All over the map. PNW find areas of weakness and capitalize on CSU.
Jason trying to run Doubtful down right now. Ooh, nice. Slick moves coming out from Doubtful. That's that Zinzao knowledge, right?
Yep.
WE over. Jason can't do anything. His bot lane once again gets dove. 0-5 for Cleveland State. Scrub McLord, 11 and a half minutes in. The man can't even use his R button. He's had to take that key out simply because he's just not allowed to use it. He has not hit level 6 yet. Prank beautifully pushing into that top side here. Despite dying a whole ton, is just going to be that front line for Plexo, for Wind King. He's still Udyr, right? He's still Udyr.
Tanky, able to stun. He has abilities. He's not going to die instantly. Scrub McLord, I'm a little worried, you know, having your ADC in that position. He's down almost, like, Wind King has double his gold, as well as close. Yep. He used to have double his XP as well, which was crazy. Now he's going into the mid lane. He's the same levels as Shoes. So let's see. CSU in a tough position. They're down 5,000 gold. PNW, they've been taking a lot of good fights, pressuring the bot lane immensely. I wonder if Cleveland State, they're like, yeah, guys, we'll pick Kog'Maw into PNW. Who else is going to pick Kog'Maw to them? They're never going to see it coming. And then, funny enough, just before they play GVU and face this champion, and this time they come prepared. They send anyone bot lane to try and shut down this Kog'Maw. They are not having a repeat of their match against GVU.
Nightstar scarred them, right? Like, they're like, all right, Kog'Maw destroyed us game 1. Can we make sure we put this guy 6 feet under for eternity? So they are just going hard on to Scrub McLord. I know it sucks, right? Because it's like, well, it feels like Cleveland State had this ready. Like, they had a cool composition. They're like, okay, we can get Smolder. We can run the double tank. Jason's really good on Zach. Are we serious? GVU played Kog'Maw? All right, they're ready for it. And Purdue Northwest expertly shutting it down, right? Diving it. They've got the Varus instead of the Ezreal. That gives you the Chain of Corruptions. That allows you to dive from super far away. You don't have to commit with a bit of a shorter range champion, right? You can kind of use the Chain of Corruptions, the Piercing Arrows, and kind of just let your team do all the work while you pick up kills on the back end. And Lethality Varus is so much better into these kind of low mobility, squishy champions like the Kog'Maw, like the Lulu. It's just, Wind King is on a tear right now. 204, Klexo 401. Double 80 carry composition, just doing what it needs to do best, as that second dragon did go down. And we are, I believe, on a Chemtech Soul, and Purdue Northwest have had complete and utter control on every single objective.
Rift Herald is going to be picked up subsequently. Doubtful picking up yet another one. May go up to the top lane. That tower very low. One charge from good old Shelly should be able to finish it off. And CSU stuck between a rock and a hard place in this one. I wonder if they'll be able to group up and maybe look for some of these team fights where Nightstar really shone on the Kog'Maw. But at this point, you're scared to take those fights, right? Because you're down in items, and it's going to be a bit of a struggle to take those fights. So they need some time to try and scale in, but will PNW keep their foot off the gas pedal? They know how to win in these situations. Pranked holding the fort. Jason, I wonder if he needs to start looking elsewhere. He's level 12, the highest level in the game. If CSU are going to come up with the dub here today, it's going to be on the back of Zach.
Yeah, and he's got to get some monster flanks here. He's also got Kanik Rukern, right? I believe he rushed that, which is an interesting item choice, specifically because there's a double 80 carry composition on the side of Purdue Northwest. I feel like Thornmail or something more armor heavy would have been the move here, but right now you see this bottom lane tier 2 getting sieged.
And they're going to actually come up. Doubtful goes in. Klexo as well in the mid-jungle duo. They're diving in together beautifully, and they get another kill. Jason is teleported in. Not the big plays we're hoping for, because the rest of the team unable to find an engage in. Aqualad tried to boost everybody up, but he goes out just as quickly as they come in. Jason's far away from the fight. They don't have the support of their tank. And Wind King and Klexo are just going to keep the train rolling, flashing after Shoes. The arrows come through. Kaizik's angrily running from base. Buster shot sends him back. Wind King continues piercing with arrow after arrow. Wild Growth comes out to keep Kaizik's alive, but it's not enough. The additional help health only serves for more damage from Wind King's arrows. A clinic right now is the gold lead increases to 11,000.
Yeah, Purdue Northwest coming back with a vengeance, right? They were mad. They lost that game. They were foaming at the mouth, eyes red, seething, and unfortunately Cleveland State is just the benefactor of their rage right now. 11,000 gold lead from Purdue Northwest at the 17-minute mark. So early on, too. It felt like mid and jungle and AD carry just kind of dominated every step of the way here, despite Prank best attempts at losing the game. His team just picking up the slack.
Chain of Corruption comes out. Jason's getting locked down, and as you mentioned, Chibi, not a lot of armor. Plated steel caps, trying to keep its best. I can't believe Aqualad is health bar deleted from like one arrow from Wind King, who's got so much lethality built up. It hurts so much. He's the same level as his mid lane Klexo here, and they're just going to keep sieging, keep grabbing turrets, keep their foot going, as Scrum McLord and Kaizix with a tough job trying to defend the turret, but it's 3-on-2, and they continue to get pelted with long-range poke. Their wave clear, not enough. Pranked and Doubtful pushing on the top side of the map.
Jason looking for an engage. Doubtful is a little low. I don't think he's going to be able to get anything, though. We are in that Baron waiting room for Purdue Northwest. Maybe they can look to potentially use this Rift Herald in Doubtful's pocket to potentially end the game if there's a team fight that happens. Prank, in a sticky situation, but I think he should be able to get out. It's Udyr. He can do that.
And for a second I was like, what if Prank just goes full AP? But no, he went the tankier build. He's going to be sticking around. He's hard to take down. Rift Herald has been spawned in the base, and Doubtful's just going to keep it going. They're stopping backs. Shoes and Jason stuck in top lane purgatory as the game might be ending. Doubtful gets an inhibitor off the charge. Rift Herald going in, doesn't get to go in on the Nexus turrets. Klexo trying to back away. That's 2 inhibitors going down before the 20-minute mark.
Yeah, in a minute before the Baron, they're going to pick up that Dragon, potentially, or they're just going to beeline it towards Baron. They're not worried about Chemtech Drake. Realistically, they probably just want to end this game, and they realize they need Baron to do that because of the wave clear on Cleveland State side. You still have Shoes on the Smolder, as Prank is just going to walk it out Trick True G style later.
Klexo comes in. The cavalry has arrived. Jason, I think, not tanky enough to survive the two of them going toe-to-toe. Prank's just going to keep dishing on the damage. Klexo jumping all over the place. He is legendary 803 on the Tristana. Look at the rest of Purdue Northwest. They are grouping up and attacking the base. Shibby, the siege begins as Jason survives and comes out on top. It's a shutdown for the mysterious weapon. But is it enough to hold the rest of the base? I believe that Chain Corruption is a death sentence as Wind King goes on a rampage. Kaizix starts trying to defend. Jason is teleported back in. He's level 14 on the Zac. Wind King, one arrow after another. He's trying to connect it. He's staying alive, staying safe in the back line, trying to find more. The hail of arrows not enough. Shoes is back and slowing down Wind King, who might go down here. Big shutdowns onto Cleveland State. Pranked teleporting into the base. It's just maddening watching this one unfold. These players are going all over the place trying to get shutdowns.
I mean, they're not really trying to end the game right now. They're just kind of poking and prodding, picking up kills here and there. I mean, they got the Nexus turret down to a little bit of HP here, at least one of them. But I feel like they can just beeline it towards Baron, clear out some of this vision. Toponer doing his duty as a good support, right? Clearing out pink wards, placing some of his own, using the Scryer's orbs. But yeah, Purdue Northwest, complete control of this game. It's still roughly a 10,000 gold lead for them, despite all those shutdowns as we saw going over to players like Jason, like Kaizix and the sorts. It's going to take 30 plus minutes for Cleveland State to ever hit a point where they want to fight Purdue Northwest because they're just so far down in gold. And we talked about it, right? Like this team composition, how do they get through early in mid game? Oh, they don't, Mac. Purdue Northwest curb stomped them to the ground into dust.
Baron Nasher, the cherry on top of the Revenge Sunday. Purdue Northwest get another objective as Toponer speeds everybody up as they gun it towards the final base push. Pranked is already there, waving around his flag on the moon. Guys, I made it. Where's everybody else at? Starting to push in. Everybody's buffed up and ready to go. Cleveland State, one final defense to try and save the game. Let's see if they can keep this one alive. Shoes gets targeted immediately. Wild Growth, not going to be enough. Huge damage onto the back line. Klexo diving in, gets CC'd. Wind King still safe in the back line. Chibi, it's a double kill for the PNW mid laner before he goes down. Jason as well. It's burned in the flames. Pranked gets his revenge from the early game, and PNW are going to be able to secure game number 1. A 22-minute victory. Purdue Northwest go up 1 game in our best-of-3 series.
Purdue Northwest, game 1 done and dusted in quick fashion. The dinner bells are ringing for them. They're trying to get this done immediately, right? Mom and dad are calling. The casserole's done. Lasagna's ready, hot on the table. And so Purdue Northwest just coming in, clinically dismantling Cleveland State University's composition here. Unfortunately, they just saw the Kog'Maw once and were like, yeah, dive again. We're going to dive you again. How about a 4th dive? Maybe a 5th? We could go for 6 as well. Kog'Maw, and specifically just a noob, just couldn't do anything. Right? He just could not do anything. Scrub McLord was not allowed to play the game.
Yeah. Usually it's kind of a surprise to see Scrub McLord lock in the Kog'Maw because based on a lot of the bans that we see, it targets the Callista, targets the Draven. You expect more early game out of him versus the late game scaling Kog'Maw. So it'll be interesting to see how CSU adapt to this series. Got to go back to the drawing board in game number 2. We'll see if they're able to turn it around and give us a game number 3. But before we hop into our break, Shibi, I'm curious, have you ever wondered what goes into running an esports event by chance? Between your team helping you run the event and the audience that are attending the event, I think the people are the first thing you have to consider when setting up an event. If you want to learn more about how people power an esports event and more, type !top 5 in the chat and check out our article, What It Takes, Top 5 Things Powering Esports Events. Hope you guys check that out. It's a really great read. Hope to catch you as well after the break. We're going to be gearing up and getting ready to go for our second match of this best of 3 series. You won't want to miss it. Mac and Chibi will be back after the break.
So first question is, going to live events like this, the LANs are super exciting. Everybody, has their own reasons that they love it. But for you personally, whenever you see an offline event on the schedule, what are you most excited about?
Well, for me, this is actually my first LAN. So I've never experienced this before. So
okay,
it's
yeah,
definitely very cool.
tell me about the first experience.
Yeah, I think when I first got here late last night, walking in, seeing all the different computers and stuff, just been dang, this is really something that
it's happening.
It's happening. There's gonna be all these teams that are competing here, and that I'm gonna be around other great players. And I think another thing that's pretty cool is you're actually able to go and I guess, more involved in like the people you're playing, like in the community and stuff, and being able to like actually put faces to the people playing. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But overall, it's been a pretty good experience. Overall, it's a great time. I think this is so cool that you guys set up this up.
Dude, it's fun to be a part of it. The second question, right? We made a few calls, opened up the flip phone, got Riot on the phone, and we got you on the dev team, right?
Yeah.
And day one, they want a new champion in League of Legends, but with all the cuts that they made in staff, there's a lot of revenue. We can throw out a lot of IPs, so it could be from anywhere. It could be a real person. It could be anything. Who are you bringing into League?
Dude, that's a hard question here, man. Yeah. Okay, so like my biggest problem is I play games like Apex and Minecraft and stuff outside. So it's like I don't think any of those characters could go very well in the league.
You can do Steve.
Should we do Steve, bro?
Yeah, you could. I mean, I don't know if you should.
Maybe he could like temporarily mine holes in the wall. And get his whole team.
He already broke Smash.
I know he's discussing Smash. I was actually just over there playing it.
Do you think he would do the same thing in League? He just like you build terrain.
I think it's either you build terrain, you also but like that's the I think you could like have like a mini bard portal, but it's not one way, it's both ways. You should create a whole wall in the terrain and just that's like a whole new entrance. That's like
true.
Over time.
I
think that'd be cool.
Yeah, that's like better.
Yeah, because Orin could like block. He could do that with any terrain, like even like just normal walls. That'd be crazy. He'd be a jungle.
Coding team is sweating.
Yeah, because I know like is it with Smash they make like they have to, like take all like the arenas and like re-put them into like 1x1 blocks. They gotta do it with the league. Yeah, they just redid the map, so gotta do it again.
All right, last question of anybody on the team, on your team, who is most likely to go viral, and for better or for worse, why?
Viral? I'm gonna say our Millionaire Shoes.
Okay.
I'm gonna say, dude, we were playing a game earlier, dude. This guy was playing Cassiopeia and he was going crazy. He almost clutched the team fight. It wasn't close, but dude, I'm like, that's got potential.
Okay,
so I think one of these games, dude, he's gonna hit something crazy. And I'm like, all right, I want to be there and see it.
We're gonna get the like no scope montage, but League of Legends style.
It's gonna be shoes on Cassiopeia just waiting around, just really killing everybody. Not every single shot.
Twin fang.
It's gonna be insane, bro. Now, personally, I hate Cassiopeia, but I love it when it's on my team.
That champion is crazy. Well,
Hello and welcome back, everybody, to the Midwest Esports Conference Spring 2024 Week 4 Day 1 matchup between Purdue Northwest and Cleveland State University. CSU take a Game 1 loss in convincing fashion, and there we go.
No way!
Back from the void, back from the Mordekaiser Ultimate, Mac. I don't know how you survived it, but you're good. We're good to go.
It was
How did
close.
CSU survive the PNW Mordekaiser Ultimate?
They did not have a handy-dandy Quicksilver sash like I did, so they weren't able to get out Chibi, and it was a tough game number 1. CSU, unfortunately, set up and put into the targets of Klexo Doubtful, 2-for-1 combo meal, the Zinzao Tristana, taking many drive-thrus to the bot lane, and unfortunately, it was a good deal on Scrub McLord through that early game. They were able to dominate. The big story for me, though, I know outside of the bot lane, things looking a little rough for CSU, but Jason on the Zac, popping off, getting a handful of solo kills there onto Prank was not in my bingo card, but PNW at the end of the day, it's all according to Prank's master plan. PNW end up coming out on top, and we are getting ready to hop into our second match. It's a best of 3 series, so there is always room for redemption.
Yeah, unfortunately, Jason kind of highlighting why top lane is useless. Like, he just got so many kills, dominated Frank, looks over, all right, the whole city's underwater. Nukes have been set off. Yeah, this is impossible. I don't think the Avengers or the Justice League combined could have saved that situation. But Jason just looking like a shining star on Cleveland State University's side. I think, like we said, with GVU, they have one carry threat, right? Nightstar. They just needed somebody else to kind of pick up the baton and be that secondary carry. Some games it was Castle, other games it was Jinkall on the way. I think for Cleveland State, Jason needs help, right? It's either got to come from the mid lane within shoes, or it's got to come from Scrub McLord in that 80 carry role. Both very capable players, and they have the ability to carry. We just kind of need one of them to step up at the same time as Jason, right? Allocation of resources, allowing Cleveland State to kind of put gold into the right people and lead them to a victory. Hopefully their first one here, and then maybe they can reverse sweep Purdue Northwest.
Well, let's get into it, Chibi. Game number 2 draft is underway, and the teams have swapped sides. CSU on the blue, PNW on the red side, and maybe we'll see. I got my marker ready as we make our way through these first phase of bans. Unfortunately for Jason, when you have a few pop-off performances on some of your favorite champions, unfortunately it gets thrown on the ban list. So Shibby, for this second game, he's gonna have to lock in a different champion for the top lane.
Sorry, I was talking into the void. Give me the Irelia, give me the Jax, give me the Cassante, like you mentioned. I want to see Jason on a massive, massive carry threat here, as CSU aren't going to rule out the Gwen for Prank. Still gets the respect that he deserves here, dominates on that champion. Purdue Northwest, the Karma is banned. Mac, throw your marker out the window. You don't need it, at least for this series. He actually, wow, that was a good throw. Purdue Northwest doesn't need to worry about any Karma shenanigans here, but a lot of still powerful picks opening up on the board, right? The Varus, Ash, those kind of champions, super flexible, right? Can run both of those champions in the bot lane as a very terrifying duo, right? We've seen it before with the Doran's Blade Ash and Varus kind of just running the bottom lane, and so I want to see what Purdue Northwest are going to end up banning. Smolder still available as well. What is Cleveland State prioring, though, right? What do they really want to get their hands on so they can kind of start fleshing out this composition? Xin, very popular first pick. MEC loves the Xin. Travesty has stated it before. But Volibear got to be taken. I feel like Purdue Northwest just didn't know what to ban there.
And for what feels like one of the first times all season long, Shibby, Scrum McLord makes it through phase 1 of draft with not a lot of bans thrown his way. I know PNW, Wind King, Toponer, one of the strongest bot lane duos in MEC. Feeling a little confident. Game 1 went swimmingly. Scrub McLord, this is the time I've been waiting for. Scrub McLord. As a CSU fan, I've been wanting to see the Draven. We saw a little bit of the Callista. The Melio is going to pick early. Smolder locked in as well. I don't know if that's the bot lane duo. It could be very well Smolder goes mid. Blitzcrank Draven. Come on. Lock it in.
Yeah.
It's time.
This might be it.
CSU fans everywhere have been waiting for this, Shibby.
They could opt in to flex this Smolder into Klexo, but Blitzcrank Draven?
Hyper, don't do it to me. Hyper, don't do it to me like that.
Are you tuned in?
Maybe.
What is this? It's got to be Draven, right?
Who's
There's no way you just
gonna
slam
be?
the Draven.
Jin? Question mark? I get not wanting to go Draven into PNW. It's a bit of a scary thought. They might just do the same thing they did last game. I can't
Hyper's
believe
messing
it.
with us.
It's Hyper's mess. We're picking up on our
There we
Hyper
go.
messing with us. Senses are tingling. We're adapting. This is like, I feel like he goes through this with his Dungeons and Dragons campaigns where he's like, the players are adapting to what I'm throwing at them. I'm gonna have to do something a little different. Fool me once, shame on you. Hyper's probably fooled us a million times with that, but we're starting to figure it out just a little bit as we get into our second phase of bans. Shibby, I want to point out, these bot lanes, this is something we don't get a lot throughout the start of Season 14 here in the MEC. It is 2 very aggressive bot lanes going at it.
Yeah, Lucian Emilio, tried and true. Kind of a meme in the West, right? Because of, like, you just can't play it for whatever reason. North America and Europe combined, I feel like they have, like, a really, really low win rate, while the LPL and LCK, they're just kind of stomping on this champion. So we're going to see if Wind King and Topono can pilot this Lucian Emilio into the Jhin Blitz. Like you said, pretty aggressive, has a lot of burst. Blitzcrank, a prototypical kind of counter to Emilio, or it's seen as, because there's not a lot of abilities that he can kind of cleanse, right? The knock up, the grab. You also have a silence ready. Like, it really, really kind of makes Emilio useless if he gets pulled in, and you've got a lot of damage and follow up with the Jhin here. Surprised that we wouldn't see, like, maybe the Maokai Jhin, but I like the flex, right? Because I feel like that lane is terrible for Maokai. But Emilio's still functionally a counter, right? Can cleanse the root, can cleanse the W. So we're going to see how much value Kha'Zix can get off of this Maokai jungle pick, as Purdue Northwest might just lock in this Cassante here. And with Gwen banned, not too many crazy matchups. Mid laners are banned, though. Azir and Hwei. Klexo doesn't want to go against either of those champions, as he is playing that Smolder in the mid lane. So what can Shoes pick to punish this really bad early game champion?
And the thing is, I feel like we haven't seen a lot of early game out of Shoes, right? Yone, Corki, some mages, Smolder last game. What's it going to be? I don't know. He just played the Smolder mid. I wonder how much experience I wonder if there's been any, like, solo queue matchups that is like, man, that sucked playing Intugus. So I wonder if he's got anything cooked up his sleeve here. We're getting the full display of mid lane options as Hyper's trying to help us out. Think of what might go into it. The Rise locked in. So Shibby, as you mentioned, Smolder in the mid lane, at least, relatively weak early game. Something that might be able to play into that is the Rise for Shoes, which could potentially scale up and go toe-to-toe with Smolder in the late game.
Yeah, and I'm going to ignore that. That's not a Shaco pick. But Rise, late game scaling champion. We saw the power of it as the Vi gets locked in for Doubtful. I think Briarcliff University, specifically their mid laner, kind of a monster on that Rise during the MEC Clash, kind of showed the power of it with all the mana item changes, with everything that's kind of transpired within Season 14. Rise kind of not really seen as the biggest benefactor, but it's weird because Frozen Heart got buffed, Archangel Staff got buffed. I mean, you're not locked into a mythic, so you can build more mana / AP items. I think he's a good champion, and I don't think Klexo's going to get a ton of value here. You should be able to stack relatively easily because of Rise's kind of mid to short range effect here. But I like the Rise pick. Allows you to get on top of Purdue Northwest pretty quickly if you have something like the Maokai, which is actually going to the top lane. I asked how much value it was going to get out of the jungle, but with that flex in the top lane, can kind of just keep Cassante at bay while Viego is allowed to reset onto everybody. I am curious about this Vi. Doesn't have the craziest of dive buddies, I guess, if you count Cassante, but he's usually flanking. Maybe Lucian Vi is enough damage, right? Point and click onto the Rise, he's dead. Point and click on the Jhin, he's dead, right? There's some lockdown there. Purdue Northwest have a little bit of a more fun composition. Their eggs are in the bot lane basket, while Cleveland State University just looking to kind of scale with this Rise and just play this utility bot lane and set up success for Viego Rise here.
Yeah, is Aqua Chad the missing link here on the Blitzcrank pick? I'm going to be looking for him to make a lot of plays here. Let's see, Cleveland State versus Purdue Northwest, game number 2, as we want to welcome Summoners onto the Rift for the potential deciding moment here. Our maybe last match of Friday night, I certainly hope not. Cleveland State look to even us up and take us to a game number 3 against one of the top squads, Purdue Northwest. Are they all out of vengeance, Shibby, or do they still have some left in the tank to try and take a 2-0 against CSU after going down 0-2 to GVU?
Purdue Northwest with a standard 5-point defense matching Cleveland State. So both junglers are going to get hidden starts here, as no team will have too much information. Doubtful, though, on this Vi. Trying to do some work early on. Has a little bit of a better gank ability than I would say the Viego. Viegos we typically see will try to go full clear. Will try to hit level 6 as fast as possible. But some of them have gotten a little bit more creative, right? If there's an angle on the bot lane, if there's an angle where somebody's pushed over, they'll throw that mist in and they'll just kind of walk you down and at least bare minimum burn some flashes here. As you see, Wind King on the Lucian, flash ignite. It's going to be up to Tuponer with the heal to kind of keep him healthy.
That's crazy. If we thought PNW were aggressive in game number 1 with Varus Karma, excuse me, they don't have as much poke, but they've got a lot of all-in potential. There's Pranked dodging out on some of the early abilities there from Mr. Jason. We go now to the bot lane. Hook goes wide. Aqualad, he's getting warmed up. It takes actually some calibrating at the start of the game. There's a few, you aim left a little bit, you aim right, and then it's, usually around the third one that you get dialed in.
Yeah, and the thing is, the power of this Blitzcrank is the ability to hold that hook cooldown, right? Because once you throw it, if you miss, Wind King and Tuponer have all credence to just dash in on you with the cozy campfire, with the warm hugs, and just absolutely put the pain train down there. So Aqualad needs to be able to either confidently throw these hooks so he can at least burn a flash or at least force them off, or if he misses, I feel like Scrub McLord is going to get punished so hard on the Jhin here, kind of paying for his support's mistakes.
And something that I do like for PNW when they have this aggressive bot lane is Doubtful looks mid for a potential gank. The bot lane aggressiveness allows Doubtful to, I think, really play to his full extent, and you see here with the bot lane pressure, they're going to look for an early invade.
Yeah, I mean, just look at what Klexo and Doubtful are doing. The terrible twosome, just making sure Kha'Zix is not allowed to play the game. But I always feel like Kha'Zix gets invaded, right? Like every game.
The hook! They got Wind King underneath the turret, forcing him to flash away. And those are the opportunities they're looking for. Flash from Scrub McLord. 1-shot, 2-shot, no 4-shot to finish it off. He goes too aggressive in first blood. Goes over to Tuponer.
A little overzealous, a little over aggressive. Scrub McLord, Cleveland State's bot lane, they can't chase that. They just saw Doubtful and Klexo roam into their bot side jungle. What did you think was going to happen? Kha'Zix wasn't even there to follow up. Cleveland State's bot lane just completely disjointed and disconnected, allows Purdue Northwest to pick up that early kill. Yes, it's on Tuponer, but man, they kind of squandered that chance away, I feel.
Yep, Felix gets first blood there, and PNW, this is exactly how they would have hoped the early game goes. Despite Wind King getting hooked underneath the turret, Cleveland State, they try to capitalize on such a clutch moment, I'll say, from Aqualad. Those are the hooks we're looking for, but unfortunately, Doubtful there at the right time. Kha'Zix now looking for a play on the top side of the map. Oh my gosh, Prank waiting for the right moment, goes unstoppable. Trying to get Jason to go into turret range, not quite. Meanwhile, Doubtful knows where he wants to put his priorities, and back in the bot lane, Tuponer flashing in, Doubtful charging up. No flash on the Vi, but Aqualad forced to flash away. Does get Doubtful there underneath the turret. Oh, Doubtful getting low, and he's actually going to go down! CSU making some early magic. Deadly Flourish going to go wide.
Just a massive, massive hook from Aqualad here. I mean, the power of holding that hook is so impressive, right? That's what we talked about, right? He just needs to be able to hold it, use it the right opportunity. Doubtful, no flash, hits it onto the Vi. Double buffs goes on to Scrub McLord here. Allows him to kind of wrestle back control against Lucian, against Milio, and maybe Cleveland State can use this bot lane push, this bot lane power to kind of carry them into this mid game.
Shoes taking a little bit of damage against Klexo, and Grubs might be started up here by Doubtful, who's got some advantage in the top lane. Pranked level 6, going to use the ultimate here, dashing on to Jason. Does he have enough damage to cut down the tree? Not quite just yet.
Yeah, Purdue Northwest are still in a pretty stable position here despite giving that kill over. 9.3 to 8.9. It's only a 400 gold lead, but Doubtful, with that mid lane and top lane push, are able to kind of pick up those grubs. We'll see Kaizix trade that dragon over, which is a pretty standard trade. Good usage of kind of that bot lane push, and he might actually fancy a dive because he knows Doubtful is on that top side, at least pushing them off, getting some CS denied, and potentially a plate for Scrub McLord. Cleveland State, I like that play. That was a window from Kaizix to kind of potentially threaten a dive, and he should just be able to pick up this dragon for free. Very well played from Cleveland State. I like that.
You're going to try to shove in another wave. It just hurts a little bit. I know the bot lane's not quite level 6 just yet, but it's prime curtain call territory with so many low health bars underneath the turret. But the healing's going to get PNW back up, and you're going to be able to clear that wave. Chibi, dragon does not end up being started by Kaizix. Scrub McLord and Aqualad going for a reset. Doubtful, coming off of a reset of his own, might be able to look at the objective based on when CSU decide to go for their backs.
Map here. Shoes just not really able to put up too much pressure with this Rise mid pick, and it feels like Klexo is kind of just dutifully farming in this mid lane on this Smolder, right? I would love to see a stack check because the really good Smolders will hit that 200, like I said, 225 stack point at the 18 to 20 minute mark. He's at 70, 85. He's nearly at 100 stacks right now.
He's only at 55.
So he's on pace.
Yeah, it was fleet footwork. It was fleet footwork that was close to 100. So still Klexo a little ways away. 100 at 8 minutes. Oh gosh, that would have been brutal. But here comes Aqualad, the hook, a little to the right. Klexo avoiding it, dishing out some damage to Shoes in the meantime. Klexo is out of mana, so doesn't have a lot of fire left in the dragon belly, but is going to keep shoving in those waves. Dragon started by Doubtful and secured. Started a little while ago.
Yeah, it was started quite a while ago there, and right now, Shoes not really able to do too much here. Cleveland State, unfortunately, are losing control of this game slowly but surely. But Kaizix fancying himself a gank. That's a good potential ultimate.
Oh, Shibby, it's a 1v2, though, in the jungle. Klexo and Doubtful continue to
Shoes
dominate the mid-jungle duo. Shoes is low. Going to be able to get on out of there. Doubtful, no follow-up for underneath the turret. Some champions don't get resets off of kills, so he can't keep going for the aggressive play there. Has to back off and maybe look bot or another play. Culling comes out. Scrub trying to avoid a lot of the damage, but goes to half HP. Doubtful, no ultimate, but still the pounces land onto Aqualad. Scrub McLord getting low as well, and it's a double kill in the bot lane for Wind King. But Shoes picks up a solo kill versus Klexo.
Yeah, Purdue Northwest just making plays in the mid lane, making plays in the bot lane, and just have jettisoned themselves 2.5k gold in the lead. They still have that bot lane for Cleveland State. I still think they're doing okay. The Jhin Blitzcrank is a really good setup for that utility bot lane, allowed to engage, right? Shoes and Kaizix can scale up. They can hit these resets potentially and kind of turn the tides of these fights. That's what the really good thing about Viego is, that even if he goes down early, even if he's not kind of doing too hot in the early game, come mid-game team fights, potential skirmishes, he can turn them around simply based off of the fact that he can take over other champions and just look to turn numbers advantages in their favor. Cleveland State are still very much in this, right? It's only 2,000 gold, looking much better than game one, right? Where they were down, I think, 4,000 or 5,000 at the 11-minute mark. And so Cleveland State have the comp to do it. It's can they execute on it, right? Can Jason get a flank off? with this Maokai. Can Kaizix and Shoes put the damage down onto Klexo, onto Wind King, the two big carry threats for Purdue Northwest? That's where the difference maker is going to be for them.
Yep.
Purdue Northwest
Yep.
seem to have pretty solid control across the map for every single objective.
Potential fight here around the Void Grubs. That's 5 for PNW secured by Doubtful, but Kaizix has something to say over the last one here. Reinforcements have come in, and PNW secure the last grub. Kaizix forced to back away, Shibby, and PNW, they've gotten the first dragon, they've gotten all the grubs. Things are lining up for them quite nicely, managing the neutral game lovely, and Wind King goes on a killing spree, just hunting down Scrub McLaurin, dashing in, and this is the Melio-Lucian duo that, you know, we love to see. You know what I mean, Shibby? This is this is what Melio-Lucian's supposed to do. Yep.
It's so dominant down there, right? It's so good, that Lucian Milio. We see why it's so strong in the LPL, in the LCK, and we see it going to work right now. Cleveland State just can't really seem to catch a break in this bot side, right? Even in game one, they were getting constantly dove. In this game, they're getting dove, and they're just taking advantage, Purdue Northwest, of the fact that where the jungler is, where he isn't, they're able to use the numbers advantages now. Doubtful is just
the
going to get on
hook
out.
there onto Klexo as well. They might get the 2-for-1 bargain deal. Aqualad playing around that fight beautifully with the hook there onto the vulnerable member. In CSU, they get a pick while Doubtful was looking to play aggressively. Unfortunately for CSU, though, there's not a lot on the map to play around. After getting that kill, it's mostly just to try and stop the bleeding.
Yeah, good hook coming out from Aqua Chat. I mean, he's had some pretty solid ones, right? The one on to Doubtful early on to give Scrub Lord the double buffs. He's had some crucial hooks onto big carries, but he's got to do that a handful of times here before Cleveland State can really kind of look to win these fights. And that's what this Cleveland State composition wants to do, right? They want to take down either the Lucian, either the Smolder here with a big hook, get Viego resetting, get Kaizix kind of, you know, in that skinwalker form, and just kind of take over these fights, right? Use the numbers advantage. If Aqua Chat and Kaizix can link up and kind of focus down the same target, they will just run over Purdue Northwest because they only have a 2 damage composition, right? It's Smolder, it's Lucian, that's it. Casante's not going to be doing too much until he kind of joins the team fights later on. Doubtful wants to be going in, but he's not going to be able to clean stuff up. It's going to be Wind King kind of helping Doubtful out as he dives in, as Hook does go wide here, and Kaizix potentially here to cover a gank or even a dive here because Lucian Milio is just so far ahead.
Dragon has been started up. Doubtful and Klexo working on the objective while, as you mentioned, Kaizix trying to cover, keep the bot lane safe. Curtain Call does not come out as PNW, Purdue Northwest, secure yet another objective. 4-0-1 Lucian Wind King doing work, but Scrum McLord down but not out, has his first completed item ready. Same with Shoes in the mid lane, stacking up that Rod of Ages early. It is going to go a long way, and Rift Herald might be next on the menu. Wind King going to be getting, I believe, solo turret gold. Very helpful for the ADC. It looks like Melio got an assist on it. It's going to be it's going to be the bot laners splitting the gold just a little bit, unfortunately, but a potential pick. CSW with Aqualad playing around the jungle beautifully. Kaizix trying to flash over, lands the stun there onto Doubtful and secures the kill, but look at the bot lane. Wind King on another rampage, goes unstoppable. One more turret shot. All the heals in the world can't save him. Toponer, a beautiful support effort. I'll say it, man. Toponer tried his absolute best, Shibby, but it just wasn't enough.
And Cleveland State just, once again, linking up. Kaizix and Aqua Chat. We talked about them being on the same page, going for the same targets, because once you get pulled in, Kaizix has the Triforce Viego and able to kind of whittle you down, burst you out. They got onto the right target, and even though Scrub McLord was down there in the bottom lane by himself, makes it a 1-for-1 with some expert, masterful Jhin play there, and allows Cleveland State to kind of wrestle back control in this game. They were able to pick up the Rift Herald with that pick. Very smart from Cleveland State. Despite being down in gold and despite kind of, losing down in that bot lane, not being able to get too much done in the mid lane, they are still trying and fighting back and really keeping Purdue honest in some of these team fights and some of these kind of map control, objective control skirmishes that we see.
Yeah, Aqualad especially. Let's see if he can land more hooks. Low top lane duel there. Jason's going to get low. He does get taken down, and this time Doubtful goes into the jungle with the backup as the curtain call commences. Shoes trying to get in there. Hook onto Toponer, takes him down. The fourth shot aimed maybe at the wrong target, but hey, we're not here to nitpick. Scrub McLord is going to be just fine that Toponer able to pick up that kill, but it's 2 overall. Lost on to CSU. PNW still with the advantage on Shippy. They've got a 4,000 gold lead here at the 16.5-minute mark. So we'll be looking at PNW grouping around in this mid lane. I want to maybe see more picks from Aqualad as the hook once again misses. He's looking for those opportunities. You got to shoot your shots. Every hook not taken is a hook automatically missed. Rift Herald is summoned as Scrub McLord goes down underneath the turret. So much damage from the 6-1 and 2 Lucian. Wind King is having an absolute night. The bot lane for PNW has been super strong in this series and really showing why they're up there with some of the best. This duo really having a good old time. Rift Herald thrown in the bot lane, and unfortunately it might get stopped before it's even had a charge. True sadness for every Rift Herald lost before it's able to charge. It's a great deal of, that's where Shelly gets its happiness from, being able to charge into some of those turrets. So PNW gonna be happy that goes down without getting any turret damage.
They down a ton of gold right now. They can look to kind of win these fights like we mentioned. They still have that power of that Blitzcrank Viego. Shoes has that Roa stacked, is working towards that Archangels, and this Rise is no slouch, right? Like, he's gonna get to a point where he starts one-shotting Klexo, one-shotting Wind King, and he's been kind of going undisturbed in these kind of mid-game, right? He's been allowed to farm, and Wind King just diving in, though.
Every time I see Wind King diving in, I'm ready to go. Should be. Yeah, I know it's like over in an instant almost, but when he gets going, he is cooking right now. Double buffs, flash hook there onto Toponer. The culling comes out. Aqualad getting melted down. He's hanging on, though. Those shields are enough. Ultimate comes in as Jason on the defense. Pranked used his teleport as PNW continue to push.
Yeah, Purdue Northwest kind of playing a little fearless, right? And I feel like Cleveland State can take advantage of that as the Dragon is going to go down here. Ocean Soul once again putting up with them on point. Ocean Soul point put them around the 24 to 25 minute Dragon Soul, which is relatively early, but we expected this, right, from Purdue Northwest. They had Lucian Milio bot lane. It's a Rise in the mid lane. It's a nice pull onto Klexo, but just no follow-up.
There's Doubtful finding the engage onto Jason. I think it somehow got an erupted ultimate from Klexo. Some extra damage on top. Curtain call. Welcome to the show. Wind King flashing and does get taken down. They have the pick they need. That's a lot of the damage, but Klexo still around in the backline. A Trinity Force Smolder. Really clutch here. Purdue Northwest pushing so many grubs. Look, they got 6 stacks. This is what the 6-stack grubbin looks like.
Yeah, so many little voidlings here. So many little Twitch chatters going down, as it's been aforementionedly called. Cleveland State, unfortunately, just don't have the follow-up, right? Because we saw Aqualad or Aqua Chad pull Klexo in, could not get the kill. He pulled another person in. Kaizix was able to take a body over, but because Shoes isn't there and Scrub McLord can't provide extra damage, what happens is Kaizix takes a body over and Purdue Northwest kind of just is able to focus him down because Jason isn't there to kind of provide space. Shoes isn't there to provide some extra damage and potentially avert Purdue Northwest's eyes. So once he takes that body over, Purdue Northwest completely just focus in on the Viego. And unfortunately, Cleveland State, they've got the right recipe, right? They understand what their team comp needs to do and who needs to kind of start these fights off. It just feels like Purdue Northwest is just a little too far ahead right now. 6,000 gold nearly, and they can start Baron whenever they want, right? They can use it to bait a fight. They can start it, and really Cleveland State have to rely on Aquachad here to get that pull onto crucial members, right? You can't pull Prank, you can't pull Doubtful, because then you'll give a free engage over onto Cleveland State.
Yep, the objective look double control words. They are extra sure no vision is around. And Chibi, as you mentioned, the culling actually going to be used to melt it down even faster. Wild. PNW get the objective, going to increase their gold lead, and the Baron power play begins. They were awesome at shutting down the GVU Baron power play. Let's see how they do it last time around. They're able to finish off the game, but this is a lot closer than game number 1, so let's see. It's going to be a bit more of a challenge to close this one out.
We do have Dragon coming up in about 2.5 minutes, and that might be a point for Cleveland State to try to fight, right? Try to deny something here. But it feels like Purdue Northwest, with this Baron that they took pretty fast, actually, with Klexo, with Wind King, can kind of just do this like 1-3-1 split that they're already kind of doing right now. Klexo not in any real danger, unless Cleveland State decides to overload that top side of the map here. You can't really kill Prank. He's got Ghost, he's Cassante, he's 2 items, he's a tanky beast. And so this siege that's going to come out from Purdue Northwest onto this mid lane won't be stopped. And you'll see Klexo on that top side. He can't really do anything about it. Cleveland State kind of in this paralysis of decision making because they've got to deal with mid, they've got to deal with top, they've got to deal with bot. And they don't have that hairpin trigger, right? They don't have like a Rel, a Vi, something to start a fight immediately. It's really relies on Aquachad to kind of get a pull in, or Jason to flash Twisted Advance.
Oh my gosh.
Look at
Look
that.
at the bot lane duo. It's a 3-pronged attack. All 3 lanes under pressure. CSU. Oh my gosh. As you mentioned, a conundrum for them to try and figure out who do you go for, who do you attack. Well, the top lane inhibitor is already gone. Of course, Klexo and Doubtful, the mid-jungle duo, gonna stick together. Bot and support gonna stick together as well, and Prank taking care of business in the top lane. Klexo is fully stacked. 225 has been reached. Pranked taking another turret. Chibi, this is one heck of a Baron power play.
I mean, they're just kind of getting everything on the map methodically, and maybe this is the last kind of fight for Cleveland State under this base defense, Mac.
Here we go. Big Smolder ultimate into the backline. Klexo trying to clean this one up. Huge executes coming through. One after another. The Quadra. The Pentakill to finish Friday night. Klexo ends us with an exclamation point as the fully stacked Smolder unleashes Hellfire and gets an ace.
Klexo with a massive pentakill. Kind of the icing on the cake. Look, it's a pentakill, but he was super far ahead. He was super fed. I'll give it to him. We've had 2 now with Jin Call on the Corky and Klexo on the Smolder here. But Purdue Northwest looks like a well-oiled machine, right? They came off of that Series 1 loss against GVU. Rage in their eyes, seething foam at the mouth, and unfortunately Cleveland State just were on the other end here. 2 very quick victories, sub 24 minutes, I think Purdue Northwest ended those 2 at.
Pretty good.
Cleveland State, they had the right pieces, right? I liked what they were going for with this composition, right? The Blitzcrank into Milio counter, the Viego, once you pull somebody in. We saw that happen in that top side around that Herald, where they're able to get the kill onto Klexo and then transition that into a Herald. It just felt like there wasn't enough oomph, there wasn't enough power on the rest of the map to kind of utilize this Viego Blitzcrank pick composition, let's call it, right? Because you have the front line with that Maokai that can disengage, that can kind of keep everybody in check with the Maokai ultimate. But Shoes wasn't really there for most of those fights. He was kind of splitting, trying to get to that power curve on that rise with the Archangels, the Rod of Ages, so on and so forth. But it just wasn't enough time. And unfortunately, Purdue Northwest realized that the clock is ticking. So they take the Baron, they take the Nexus, and they take the Nexus, the Inhibitor, they take everything methodically and are able to end the game super, super quickly.
Yeah, well, apparently Klexo was fully scaled up to the late game. He was ready and all stacked up. And yeah, took over that last fight. It was fun to see. I was excited to see Smolder in the MEC and the potential impact. It was the first Penta I think we saw with it. So fun game, fun series. GG's to both squads. We're going to have a post-game interview coming up to talk with PNW after they take the latter half of their Friday night doubleheader. So they walk away with at least one win, and should be a fun Friday night of games. I do want to do a little shout out. You know, esports events are more than just a place to compete. It's a social experience. You get to meet friends and rivals, bond and grow with your peers, and create memories that define someone's esports experience. It can capture the passion for esports really in its truest sense. Gamers and their experiences are just one aspect that's covered in Unified's newest offering, Mastering the Arena, People Power Esports, which you can read using the command in chat, !People Power. Again, we're going to hop into a quick break, but don't click out of that browser. We'll be back with the post-game interview right after the break. Hello everyone and welcome to the post-game interview. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. We are joined by the one and only Win King.
Yeah,
It's looking pretty good in this series. The Lucian pop-off in game number 2. Var is taking care of business in game number 1. Thank you so much for joining us for the post-game interview.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
Now, obviously, Win King, you'd have loved to come off the day 2-0. Fortunately, you lost Series 1. It was close. It was close. Coming into this series, the doubleheader, I mean, were you guys looking to, like, you know, find an outlet for your rage? Because, I mean, you were not allowing CSU to breathe, right? You were constantly diving their bot lane. I feel like you saw the Kog'Maw pick and you were like, yeah, we're not letting Kog'Maw play the game here. I mean, was that the plan, just for you to draft really hard, heavy lane prio bot lanes and just consistently dive when possible?
Yes, we were definitely out for blood. We were a little taken aback by our previous loss, so we really wanted to just end those games as quickly as possible, especially like considering records. It might come down to whoever's first seed might be who have the lowest game time, so we just wanted to finish those games as quickly as possible. So we were really drafting just to make the game not very fun for their bottom lanes. So
pretty rare to see a team cognizant of game time, right, Mac? I mean, that's like planning 20 steps ahead.
Well, I didn't see any Ziggs, Tristana. I mean, we saw Klexo rock with the Tristana, so that kind of helped with. I feel like in those kind of speedrunny games, you're like, all right, Ziggs, Tristana, we're focusing towers, we'll just kill them as a side effect. But, you know, y'all's strat worked just a-okay in going for the low game time here in the second series. more looking over the course of the season and moving forward, Win King, I'm kind of curious as the battle for first place continues and you guys get geared up and ready to go for playoffs. What's going to be the mindset gearing up? I mean, it's the regular season now. What have been the big lessons that you've learned and some of the things you're hoping to do moving forward?
Right now, moving forward, right now our attitude is that we're just really gonna lock in, and we're not dropping another game. That's for sure. You're gonna see it, and definitely, I'd say the biggest things that I've learned is, so like I'm brand new to comp. Like I just started playing comp last semester, and definitely what has been the largest adjustment for me has been communication. And moving forward, our team is going to be really heavy on the communication. I'm going to be trying to do my best, and we're really just not going to let another game drop. We're going to boom.
And obviously, looking ahead of the schedule, you've got two of the tougher teams on the tail end here in Week 5. You've got Drury University, who have looked pretty good in some of their wins and have looked pretty good in some of their games here. But I think the big match, and the one that I wish I could be casting, unfortunately, it is on Saturday, the Purdue Northwest versus Ohio Northern University. I do want to talk about that team specifically. Were they a team on your radar? Or is that somebody that when you scrim them, they're like, oh, this team looks like a top team, they're very, very good? Or is it a little bit surprising for you to kind of see them beating out a lot of these teams and going undefeated?
Yeah, it's actually we were very surprised about it. They were definitely like not on our radar for a long time, but now that we see that they are matching us for being undefeated, we're not gonna give them the luxury of a win against us. So, yeah.
Perfect mentality. I like to see that. That's definitely my match of the week for Week 5 there. Mac, final question?
I mean, it's crazy. We're rolling through the regular season. It's just about done. I mean, PNW 5 or 6 games through now. I think you guys are sitting at 4-1 or 5-1 at this point. So, with a single round robin, the time's just flying by. I'm getting geared up and kind of ready to catch playoffs. I know you guys are kind of prepping and getting ready as well. Win King, just for a brief second, I'm kind of curious with the new season and all the patches are kind of getting thrown at you. I feel like bot lane meta is starting to kind of shift a little bit. Smolder was added in there. What kind of helps you guys get ready for game day with trying to think about the comps you're running and thinking about what kind of champions you want to be picking?
Yeah, well, we have our star draft coach that always keeps us updated on all the crazes right now. Which right now, I think his craze is Volibear right now.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's how we keep up. And honestly, with the meta shifts right now, I think I had always been a really like heavy on playing like scaling hypercarry champions, so it's been a lot for me to be shifting because of now it's all about getting prio bottom lane. But with our draft coach, I've been able to adjust a lot, so it's been going great.
Yeah, excited to see more. We appreciate you joining us for the post-game interview. Before we let you go, is there any shout-outs that you want to give out?
Yes, definitely. First shout-out is a lovely woman by the name of Bree and Delphi. They are very, very big supporters. If you ever see people supporting in chat, it's those two. And then also my parents and just family, because they're always watching, and it makes it really special to be able to play. So, yeah.
Well, want to shout out the love, want to spread that, absolutely. We appreciate you joining us for the post-game interview, Win King. Wishing you the best, and we hope to catch you soon.
All right, thank you.
Alrighty, that's going to do it for our coverage here on this Friday night. The double-header Friday Night Showdown. GVU taking down PNW 2-0. PNW respond with the 2-0 of their own against CSU. It was very fun to watch. We've got more MEC action coming your way very soon, but Shibby, it's a bit of a different schedule this week. Only one game over the weekend. Saturday at 5 p.m. Central, Drury Panthers taking on 6 Central due to bugs, apparently. Drury Panthers taking on Briarcliff University at 6 p.m. Central tomorrow, Saturday the 24th. And then Shibby, this is a good week to come back for you, my guy, because we've got 2 double headers, one on Friday, one on Monday, another double header, Briarcliff versus Cornell, and a potential playoff showdown. Ohio Northern takes on Ottawa Monday night. Very excited to see that. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the MEC coverage. We hope to see you guys tomorrow and on Monday for more 2024 CLOL action. Hope to catch you there.